Hello and welcome to the season finale of the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me for this final 80-minute race of the season is Daniel Handover, Sam Kumo operating the cameras. And we have a couple of championships to decide, the overall and the amateur championships coming down to the wire in this race championship. Daniel, it was all changed last time out. Manatee Racing managed to win out comfortably in the end, but it was Wild Animals who lost their championship lead. It's all to play for though in this final round of the season, and there's not many better places to end the season than at Suzuka, which has decided so many championships in the past.
It has indeed. Good evening, everybody. It's going to be a fantastic race. I'm very much looking forward to it. From the racing that we have seen from the previous 3 rounds, this will be no different. We have the championship standings, and this is for overall. So yeah, AAA Esports, they're 11 points ahead of Wild Animals, but also Pure Sims Esports, not too far away with 132. So this race, we cannot count anything happening between even the pro and the AM. So yeah, anything can happen in this race. We have seen that previously. So I'm so looking forward to it. And as you say, Sam, what a track to end it on. Suzuka, such an amazing track. I can't wait for the racing to get going.
Definitely. Remember that Manatee Racing have won 2 of the first 3 races of the season. They changed cars midway through the championship, albeit they would still be in second place even if they hadn't changed cars. But right now, AAA Esports are yet to win a race. If Wild Animals win tonight and they don't pick up any penalties, they will be the champions. You get 9 points extra for first position, then second position. So that's what is at stake. The 1-2-7. If they win this race, they are the champions, so it's all to play for. Top of the amateur category is Kairos Competition 238, and they've got quite a comfortable lead over Rasterholics. They still need to do Kairos Competition. They need to make sure that they finish kind of in the top 35, preferably, but so far they've finished in the top 15 every round. They have been phenomenal so far this season. So Kairos Competition 238 looking very strong, and you can see they're also up in 4th position at the moment in this practice session. Manatee Racing, AAA Esports and Wild Animals occupying those top 3 places as they have done for so much of this season. And going into qualifying in just a moment, 1 more minute of practice, then we'll have a 10-minute qualifying session and then an 80-minute race. In that race, the teams will have to field 2 drivers, and we'll see that swap round at approximately the 40-minute mark. What are the challenges of this Suzuka circuit, would you say, Dan? Do you think notable at this circuit? Is there anything that the drivers will have to prepare for?
I think, to be fair, the cars generally are quite comfortable around here. I know we found the GT cars behave quite nicely. I think the Porsche could have a slight advantage, especially in the sort of bigger braking zones, going into turn 1 and turn 2, that you can be able to carry a little bit more speed. So watch out for the Porsches being quite quick through there. I think the main thing though is at the start of the lap, you go through all of those the really flowing S's. That's one thing you've got to make sure. If you get the car a bit too much out of shape, it's amazing how much time you can lose through there. So you've got to make sure that all the drivers need to keep the composure and keep basically under control. You don't want to be carrying too much speed through any of those corners, because potentially you can lose up to even like half a second in the space of what feels like no time at all. So I really think that's a key crucial point and a crucial part of the track that the drivers have really got to watch out for, especially in qualifying, which we're just about to go to now. It's very, very, you can gain a lot of time through there. You can also lose a lot of time through there.
Yeah, so one of the better. I mean, for me, this is the closest any circuit gets to a perfect racetrack. Every single corner around this track is it's faultless. I can't really pick any holes in this place. I think Silverstone as well and Spa are almost faultless circuits, but this place is probably fantastic. And the S section, as you were speaking about, probably the centerpiece of it. As the drivers exit the pits for this qualifying session. Remember, all the drivers out on track at the same time. This isn't like an official qualifying, qualifying like in the official series, which I'm sure many of our viewers have taken part in the past. all the drivers are out on circuit at the same time, so you can pick up a job, but you can also be held up by another driver as well. So you've got to make sure that you get yourself a pocket of clean air and put in a good time. You've only got 10 minutes to set a time as well, and at a longer circuit, you're going to be limited by your laps. Kenny Rusens at the front of the order at the moment for AAA Esports, trying to get his lap time in first. But just moving ahead of him there and getting track position. Not quite sure which car that was. I can't quite see the number on it. But yeah, just moving ahead for a moment. But do you think qualifying is going to be particularly important for this circuit? So far we've seen kind of pole position, quite reflective of the race pace at least. I think both the pole sitter at Silverstone and Spa has gone on to win the race so far this season. Do you think it's going to be more important qualifying than it has been for the round so far this season, Daniel?
I think it probably could be. The reason behind that is, you know, Suzuka is actually a surprisingly narrow track in certain parts. You know, you've got to be quite careful. I think track position, again, going through those S's, you know, it's very, very hard, especially, you know, when the drivers are on cold tyres, cold brakes. I think it's very, very hard to go too wide going through there. So having that track position could potentially be, you know, the guys at the front, if they're all sensible actually going through, potentially we may see the top 2, top 3 sort of disappear off into the distance, which is what we have seen, obviously, in the past. I think, yeah, it could just be extra crucial, you know, in terms of track position going through here. It probably won't make a difference after the first 2 or 3 laps, but those 2 or 3 laps can really make a difference and can, you know, they can set the tone for the rest of the race.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know how much experience you've got of these cars, but as far as I'm aware, there's a bit of aero weight, not quite as much as we saw in the Formula 1 earlier on, where, yeah, can't wait for 2022, frankly. But it's certainly not on that scale. It's not totally obvious from the naked eye, because when you're 0.2 of a second faster, say, if you're being held up by 0.2 by the turbulent air, then that is going to be incredibly frustrating for you. Do you know how strong that turbulent air is in these cars? And do you think, is that something significant, or do you think it's so small in these cars that actually the draft effect kind of counteracts?
I think I've had a fair amount of experience in the car. By no means I'm not the quickest by any stretch of the imagination, but I've had a fair few hours, a fair few of the endurance events in iRacing we have done in the GT cars. The aero wake is, I think the best example would be, you know, somewhere like, again, through the S's, you may notice it. Also, as well, going through 130R, that's probably going to be a big area. We're going to find drivers having to lift off. You know, potentially we may have some onboard pushers, obviously, going through the race, actually, you know, traveling through 130R. If you've got a car that's, you know, within a couple of car lengths in front of you, that will play a noticeable difference. The other sort of track that I normally give this a reference is the Porsche curbs at Le Mans. Again, the aero doesn't really have an effect as opposed it would be maybe in an LMP2 car or an LMP1 car or any Formula car for that matter. But it is still something that drivers do have to be, you know, considerate of. And also, again, going through into turn 1, actually going through into 130R, if they are behind drivers and behind other teams and other cars, what we're going to find is they're going to carry more overspeed actually going into the corners. So they've got to watch out for their braking marks as well. So not only do they lose a bit of downforce, which hurts them through the corners, but obviously they gain that time actually going through and they're going faster down the straight. So a lot to play into it. It doesn't have as much of an effect in an LMP2 car, but it is something that drivers do need to take into consideration, especially when they're battling quite closely.
Definitely. The first few qualifying times have come in, and Manatee Racing half a second clear again. They were dominant at Spa, considering that the first 2 rounds were so close. Daytona in particular, we had the top 6 teams, I think, in qualifying separated by less than a tenth of a second. And then Manatee turn up, change cars to the Porsche, and since that change, they have been absolutely superb. They put it down to a very good setup and maybe just a one track situation. That gap at Spa of half a second, but they're being able to back it up so far here at Suzuka and are on top. AAA Esports crucially ahead of Wild Animals. And if Wild Animals, or if Manatee Racing pull away from the rest of the order, then Wild Animals will have to hope that AAA Esports finish 4th or lower, because even if Wild Animals finish in 2nd place, AAA would need to finish in 4th or lower in order for that 9 points gap to be overhauled. In fact, it may even be down to 5th position So they'll have to do quite a bit with Wild Animals, and they really do need to hope that Manatee Racing have some kind of issue so that the race win is still possible. Kevin Finport Cars Competition, the 238 car, currently at the top. It's pretty close in that amateur category. Performance Link, Esports, and Razaholics in second and third. There's always drivers with different mentalities. Darren's Performance Link go 9th position. I recall Johnny Brandon from the UV8 Supercars say would always go on about how he didn't care about the championship, and he was a 2-time champion in that series. I think now a 3-time champion. And he just said he never even thought about the championship, even when he was leading it. Meanwhile, other drivers, I think Nick Magnussen from the Porsche Cup Championship, all about the championship. Just cared about the championship, didn't care about race results, just cared about the championship. I wonder if what scale Kairos will be in that regard. It seemed like last time that they were playing it pretty cool, but one would think that they will play it a little bit more cautiously, seeing that they have got that advantage in the amateur category at the moment.
I think, yeah, what they need to do, they just need to do what they've been doing for the last 3 rounds. They just need to get their heads down. Yeah, okay, Spa didn't necessarily go their way, obviously, towards the end, but I don't think that would have set them back too much. Yes, they were disappointed they didn't get the win. At the same time, though, they know they've got the pace. They know they've got the car is clearly under them. They've got the good set, and like I said, they're working well with the car. They're working well as a team. So I just think, as we see here, we have a Corvette there taking the excursion off into the grass and then ultimately into the barrier. That was the DRS Wave Italy car. Yeah, I think they know what they need to do. So personally, I probably wouldn't be worrying about the championship so much, because they are, like I said, they've got a good lead between second and third in the championship. So I think that's a second priority. The top priority they need to do is make sure they have the good qualifying first, which at the moment they're 3 tenths ahead of Performance Link Esports. So they're doing that at the moment. So that's one box ticked with just over 2 minutes left to go. And then attention, focus on the race, and don't worry about the championship until maybe the last 10 minutes, and then go, okay, again. It's all about keeping the head on their shoulders. They don't want to get too worried, I suppose, about it. If you start worrying about championship, you then potentially start making mistakes because of that. So, yeah, I think head down. They just need to do what they need to do, and what they have been doing for the last 3 rounds.
Yes, as we see a flaw in our cabinet, as the cameraman, he gets impaled by some metal right there. Yeah, I think that's probably right. Carry on what you're doing. Carry on the winning strategy. But I mean, I won a championship actually once, Daniel. You may not know, I do remind the drivers quite often. It gives me some credibility in this commentary booth. But when I won that championship, and what a championship it was, it's weird because it was all about the championship. But on the final lap, I've never really understood this. I remember when Hamilton slowed down. I know I'm comparing myself to Lewis Hamilton, and I'm sure Lewis will be honoured by that. But anyway, sorry, I'm just trying to pick myself up. But on the last lap, even when I had won the championship, for some sort of reason I just went really slow. I didn't want to crash, even though I could have crashed and I wouldn't have cared. There was something super protective. I recall Hamilton in 2014 when he'd had the championship won, and he was driving like 3 seconds lap off the pace. Basically, I think it will affect them in a way that maybe they're not aware of yet. I don't know if cars have ever won a championship, as Wild Animals go up to second position. That's big for them. I don't know if they've won a championship before. Maybe they'll know how they'll react, but we will wait and see. Hopefully we see some twists and turns, but Wild Animals right at the end of qualifying, putting themselves up into second position, and that could be crucial, albeit second on the grid isn't necessarily better than third, because obviously second, it's very tricky with your peripheral vision to react to when the pole sits and moves off the grid. It will be a rolling start for this race. So that's something for the judges to think about, as M Science and Maltz will move up into fourth position. Nice lap there. I assume that's Daniel Lee driving in that car. It is Daniel Lee driving in that car, and that's their best qualifying of the season, as AAA move back up into second position, and that is a lap of champions there. because again, they've crucially moved ahead of Wild Animals, who are not on a lap anymore, and so it's first blood to AAA. Remember, it's Wild Animals who have to beat AAA tonight in order to win the championship, but AAA crucially with that track position, it seems initially, so it's first blood to the 162.
It is, yeah, I'm just looking, so at the moment, the qualifying times, you had the best for Dylan, the Manetti racing car was a 153.4, very, very quick lap. Yeah, the top three, 0.6 of a second separate them. So this is, I think, in terms of the pace, we could very well see AAA and Wild Animals. The performance from Manetti Racing last round, they were really on the ball at Spa. We may see something a little bit different this round. It'd be interesting to see, and we're not going to know until obviously the flag drops. But I'll be interested to see what the pace is and the race pace of especially the top three are, who are the only people currently in 53s. And I think it's going to be staying that way.
Well, I was thinking if Wild Animals can get ahead of AAA, surely they'll hold them up. I'm going to bring more Hamilton comparisons here because I don't know enough about motorsports to give any other demonstrations. But 2016 Abu Dhabi, where he held up Rosberg in order to get other drivers to overtake him and put a few cars between him and his rival. One would think that surely Wild Animals will do that if they have track position, providing that it seems as though they're not going to win the race. Remember, Wild Animals, if they win the race, they do win the championship. So plenty to think about. We'll see if they've got, say, a plan in order. But at the moment, it does seem like we've seen at all the other rounds so far, the top three clear of the rest of the order. And so M-Science and Multiple and Fuga Sport will have to push hard in order to breach that podium position. So Till Bain goes into the alternative pits and executes that brilliantly. I mean, Till, nice line there. It's a big shame actually with the West circuit that we have here. You can't really run races because the pit stalls only go up to 12, I believe. And of course, it's an excellent circuit. You could pick any corner around this track and it'd be a very good track. But unfortunately, you can't have proper races. Otherwise, it would be very cool, the West circuit, to occasionally visit. But Till Bain there executing it perfectly as we are about to go through the starting grid. And for the final time this season, it is Manatee Racing on pole position. AAA Esports still without a pole position, I believe, this season. They could win the championship without getting a pole or winning a race, which would be quite remarkable. Wild Animals starts in third position. There's M-Science and Mortal with their best qualifying of the season. Fuga Sim Sport 191 line up in fifth. Then it's Vulcan Sim Racing 177. Then it's the other Vulcan Sim Racing car, the 122. Then it is Tom McMahon for Evo SR moving up to 8th place. Cars competition, top of the amateur teams. I remember championship leaders in that category. They line up in 9th. Then it is the other Evo SR car with Aaron Powell at the wheel in 10th. That's the 144. Then it's Evo SR 173. Performance Link Esports, Fuga Sim Sports 181. Pure Sims Esports, quite far down the order. Watch out for them actually in 116. Then it is T3 Esports with a good qualifying to get up to 15th. Then it's Pacific Sim Sports, Sim Motorsports, who took pole at Daytona, remember, but haven't been able to back that up since. Razaholics, DRS Wave, Italy, Valkyrie Esports, and WS Racing Esports round out the top 20, and we have got 38 cars who should be taking the grid, albeit a couple of them will be starting from the pit lane because they have penalties to serve or a mixture of misdemeanors. Yeah, we are about to get this final race of the season going under the Ford safety car.
Indeed, it's going to be very, very close. I'm sure it's going to put up some good racing as we have seen in the previous rounds. But yeah, it's so much to play for here. Both championships, regardless of the points, they're still up for grabs. We have seen, and look, a great shot there, the aerial shot. We've just got the safety car just about to lead the cars off to start the last round of the ARL GT series. But yeah, it's an amazing track. It's going to be an amazing race. The GT cars suit this track so well. But yeah, we have seen anything can happen. Absolutely anything. So I'm very, very excited to see what goes on in this race. But they are just about to get underway. And we're going to be going for an hour and 20 minutes to see who is the Pro and the Am champion.
Yeah, you can see RLI, Brutzy Esports, Pro Academy, SimSport 269, and SimTech Racing, all starting from the pits. They have got penalties they have had to serve. So just the 3 teams from the pits. Manatee Racing, though, will lead the order away. It is crucial for Wild Animals to get ahead of AAA Esports. They need track position because they need to hold them up potentially, and they need to be able to challenge Manatee Racing for the race win as well. It will be in the control then of Dylan Scrivens. Once again from pole position, he puts his foot down, and we are away for round 4 of the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship, and it is a perfect start for Wild Animals, who look as though they're going to be moving ahead. Good start for Vulcan Sim Racing as well, just trying to get on the inside of the Fuga Sim Sports car, and actually Daniel Lee struggling, moving down to 4th position there. Fuga up into, Daniel Lee down to 5th position, almost down to 6th as well, but it's Fuga up into 4th at the moment. Indie Auto Sports and T3 Esports round in the background, and also cars competition 236 as we see a few cars around that. I think a couple of cars may even merge. We saw a massive pile up in the F3 series yesterday as the drivers from the pits come round that part of the circuit, and we've seen a similar wreck right at the start of this one. No safety car needed. That's a few of the amateur teams and a few of the pro teams as well involved in that one.
Yeah, I was about to say, well, don't get me wrong, I believe the Kairos competition car, number 236, the leader in the Pro-Am class,
no, they were in the other one. 238 is the leader.
Apologies, there we go. So the 236 Kairos competition car, the one who's not leading the championship for the AM class, getting involved in that. But yeah, Performance Link Esports flashing furiously at the Fuga Sim Sport car. Obviously, those guys aren't actually racing for class position. Well, they're racing for track position, but not for class position. As we got, yeah, the Fuga Sim Sport car, that BMW just taking track position. Although, I believe at the moment, the Pure Sims Esports car getting past. So we've got, that looks to be the Performance Link Esports has dropped a couple of positions. So yes, at the moment we've got Fuga Sim Sport, Pure Sims Esports, and that is Valkyrie Esports, all battling for P12 at the moment. Apart from that incident at the start, we haven't really seen anything else happening at the moment. We may see something further down the field. But yeah, lap 1's over. Everyone's found their feet a little bit here. But Manatee Racing, again, they've just pulled that gap from where they needed to be. We've got a car off at 130R that looks to be Indie Autosport. I think that was indeed. We had Wolf from Indie Autosport, the 218 BMW. That's a nasty, nasty shunt at 130R. If there's any place you want to be going off, it is definitely not there.
Yeah, his name isn't Wolf, by the way. Apologies to Max for that issue for the entire season. We'll try to get that addressed for future championships. So one of the probably the biggest news then, besides that big crash that involved a few teams on that first lap, but Wild Animals getting ahead of AAA, and already Manatee Racing pulling away. And I know it seems obvious for me from a decent way away from Suzuka to say hold them up, get Fuga involved in this one, because Manatee seem to have this one pretty much locked down. They are absolutely pulling away from the rest of the order. The problem for Wild Animals is that they may try to hold them up, but AAA are looking faster at the moment, and they need to be careful that they don't get overtaken themselves. It's a real tricky situation for Wild Animals, and they risk over-managing this, but at the same time they risk just letting AAA finish in 3rd place and winning the championship.
Yeah, very much. You know, Wild Animals needs to just, you need to put the car in the right position. They need to make sure it's I wouldn't say it's an easy track to defend on, but it's a very clear-cut track of where you need to put the car in terms of a defending position. So coming through like 130R again, you just drifted to the inside. We had AAA having a little bit of a look there. Again, just showing the nose to try and put the Wild Animals car off, but they can't quite seem to do it. Yeah, it's a relatively clear cut in terms of your defending positions where you need to put the car. If you stick it on the inside of most corners, it's very, very difficult to try and drive on the outside, especially a track like Suzuka. But yeah, we've got 2.6 seconds is the gap between Manatee Racing and AAA Esports, and obviously Wild Animals only 0.2 ahead of AAA. So yeah, Manatee Racing are just currently sort of walking away with it as they did similarly in Spa. So unfortunately, for what I said at the start of the race, are we going to see anything different from Spa? At the moment, not really, because Manatee Racing is putting in some really, really good lap times. They were a second quicker than Wild Animals that lap, just to put that into context.
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane, and as Sports Alarming, it reminds me of the reminds me of Inglourious Bastards with the Italian characters. Anyway, sorry, but very off topic. But he's gone down to 28th as Mark Tranter in the 236. He's had another issue, or is that just the same issue for Tranter? What's his first sector like? He's had a poor first sector, but it's not that bad. So I think he had already sustained that damage. So proper race so far for the 236 machine. Further up the road, there is their teammates, the Kairos 238 car. And they are holding on to that 11th place. But as you were saying, 1 second clear for Manatee Racing is some pretty incredible lap times, considering just the competitiveness of this order. Right now, this is probably the highest quality Apex Racing League field we've had. We've got many drivers over 5,000 iRacing. Manatee Racing, Wild Animals, AAA Esports all got drivers over 5K. There's a couple of other teams, I think Pacific Sim Sports as well, have got some very high-rated drivers, and everyone else is pretty much over 3K in the Pro Division. So very high-quality drivers, and so for Manatee to have half a second in all of them is impressive. As Performance Inc. trying to recover some of those places that they lost,
Whoa.
but that's not the way to do it. They've been hit by Valkyrie Esports. And that could be a post-race penalty potentially for Valkyrie Esports, as Wild Animals and AAA and the 2 championship contenders have crashed off. Incredible scenes here at Suzuka, and the 2 teams going for the championship, and it's AAA who are going to have to tow back to the pits. And well, we'll have to get a replay of this one. It could be a penalty for Wild Animals if they were at fault, but that is what Wild Animals needed. Yes, they have got damage. Yes, they will struggle to get a fantastic result, but they don't need a fantastic result if AAA are in the wall and potentially laps down. This was the contact. It was aggressive from AAA, and considering they had the championship lead, Daniel, surely that was too aggressive.
I don't know. Hopefully we're going to get another couple of replays of that. I mean, to be fair, yes, we did have AAA that obviously went to the left and then straight away sort of went back to the right. You know, while as with Wild Animals, you are allowed to squeeze the car to a certain extent. I just don't think there was much room. So we're going to see on the board from Kenny Ruse. So he goes left and then almost jinks back to the right-hand side. So he's got the run going down. He is very much in a position. I mean, to be honest, yeah, I think it's one half of one half of another. Although I would probably have seen, Wild Animals should have probably, recognised they were going a bit more room. At the end of the day, you can't. I don't think there was nothing that really, AAA could have done at that point. They were on the grass by that point, and that was that. Yeah, they've gone up the inside. Was it a bit of an aggressive move? Yes. However, should Wild Animals have given them a little bit more space? Yes, also. So yeah, it's a racing incident, but we could very well see again the stewards may think differently of that. It'll be interesting to see maybe an onboard shot potentially later on from the Wild Animals car, just to see their perspective. But yeah, that was a bit of a shame, as that was WS Racing Esports very, very late in terms of the move. It looked like he was about to run into the back of the Razaholics 287 car, and as I say that, another incident there, and that looked to be Valkyrie Esports getting involved in that one as well. So they've not had much. We've got Florian Baird that's going straight into the pits to recover that damage. That is unfortunately, because at the moment they're P2 in the championship, so that's definitely not what they wanted. An unscheduled pit stop has definitely put that out of the contingency. Yeah, we've got Wild Animals currently in the pits. I think they were always going to be coming into the pits. There was no way that they could sustain any sort of competitive lap times as they did at Spa. So they stayed out of Spa with damage that they incurred last time. Yeah, they weren't able to do the same thing this round. Yeah, interesting. We'll see what happens with the stewards.
Yeah, I think it did look like from that onboard, didn't it, that maybe Wild Animals moved right slightly. And if that's the case, when you've got a car alongside you and you're already limiting it to a car's width, then maybe they will be at risk of a penalty. Certainly the stewards will have some big decisions to make straight after the race. If the points are overhauled, and right now you've got to say that considering the pace of Wild Animals, they could definitely score 9 more points than their rivals and win the championship right at the close. Some aggressive driving so far in this race. Pure Sims Freem up to 16th position at the moment. That is up 14 places from their start. Pure Sims having some poor getaways. safe to say, some poor qualifiers, but they have been able to move up to 11th and 16th so far, as Valkyrie Esports move up into 17th, just behind. There they are, after that collision earlier on. They might be in jeopardy of a penalty. Yes, the PSM Stream car goes down the inside. That's not really an overtaking place so fast that you're not going to break for that corner at all, as we see this stream of cars entering the Casio Triangle for the sixth time in this race. I've already seen a lot of action. ARL Abruzzi Esports doing a brilliant job. They started from the pits, remember, and they're now fighting with Performance Link Esports for 26th place.
I know it's good stuff from them, a very good recovery. Bear in mind, though, that the current battle that is on track, it is not actually for... This is between the Pro and the AM. So you've got the 285 car of Performance Link Esports, who are in the AM class, and the ARL Abruzzi Esports car of the 174 in the Pro class. Okay, so while this is a battle for track position, this is not a battle in terms of classes. So, again, not entirely sure. It could very well be if Performance Link Esports find that they're maybe holding up the Abruzzi Esports car a little bit, it may be worth just letting them pull away, or, you know, potentially, like I said, could be a small lift on the straight, let them get past, and then they can crack on. We'll have to see how that develops. As we've got, that's Aaron Powell for the Evo SR car, the number 144 Porsche. He's dropped down a few positions. Unfortunately, that looks to be the hairpin, middle of the track, the middle of the track there, the hairpin. So that was a bit of a shame going through there. We're going to have a replay of it now. So coming out could very well be, the way it's getting a bit difficult to say. It could just be a potential wheel on the grass. Yeah, wheel on the grass. Wheel on the grass, and it was either going to be a wheel on the grass on the inside or the outside of that corner. Because again, you've got to make sure you really get that car over to the right-hand side to get that track position, to make sure that you can get and really square that hairpin off. So that didn't go quite to plan for Aaron there, but he's recovered well up in 12th position, and this is the battle in class. This is for P10, I believe. This actually P11, sorry. This is the battle for P11. So this is a nice little battle here that we've got going on, and I'm sure this will be continuing because these guys look to be pretty even on pace at the moment.
Yeah, Pacific Simsport, after a disappointing qualifying, I said it whilst we were going through the grid, took pole position at Daytona. They really looked like they were going to be a championship contender. They led a few laps, then they got a slowdown, and ever since that, their season has faltered slightly, albeit I think they've just pretty much maximised what they've had. I think that qualifying time at Daytona was just absolutely perfect. So credit to them for that, certainly their highlight of the season. As Pearson's Freem have had an issue, and it's another car off at turn 1, and they have had to tow back to the pits immediately. So they had been moving their way up through the order very well, and this could be another incident with the Valkyrie Esports car. Quentin Calcino getting a bit of a reputation, and I think from that view, it looked as though he did understeer slightly into the Pure Sims Freem car. Shame for Morgan Butler, who had worked hard to regain all those places. Hopefully we will see that team back out on circuit to complete the rest of the race. I just noticed something with AAA Esports, who are well down the order. They are in 37th position at the moment. They've actually come out exactly one lap behind where they were. So they've actually come out right behind the race leaders, but obviously one lap down, but ahead of Giga Cinesport. So if they want to have a test of where they would have finished, if it weren't for their issues, this will be pretty representative. And they have been able to set faster lap times than Giga Cinesport. It's partially out of their hands now. They've got a lot of catching up to do because, yeah, they're about half a lap behind the top 30 drivers.
Indeed, yeah, it's not gone. I actually saw just Kenny Rusin. He was getting up. Did you see that? It was 2 wheels on the grass going through 130R. If there's ever a corner you don't want to get wheels on the grass, I think 130R is probably top of the list. So, yeah, you can see that Kenny Rusin from the AAA Esports car, the number 162, trying to extract every ounce and more of the car and the track. Yeah, I think at the moment, you know, we did see, by keeping on the track, latter half of the stages, there are more positions to be made up, I'm sure. Although at the moment, I don't think, as we've got Chris Chatterton from the Eclipse Racing Team, the number 230 Corvette, having a bit of a moment going through the last corner. That looked like whether he went wide going into the last chicane, not entirely sure, but he's lost a position now to the Performance Link Esports BMW. So this is a battle that I'm sure is going to be raging on. They're going to want to try and get past them again as soon as possible. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that and see what happens Although, looking at it, the RLL Abruzzi Esports car, they are now hounding the back of that Eclipse Racing Corvette. So interesting to see what they do. But yeah, Wild Animals P26 now. They are 3.5 seconds back. You just see them just going through shot. And they are on an absolute mission to try and get, although to be fair, I suppose at this stage of the race, providing, again, we're going to see what the stewards say, with penalties that are potentially going to happen, I think they need to just crack on for the rest of the race and drive conservatively, I think is the best way to put it.
Yeah, they should have the advantage that if it ended now, I think the championship, would it even be a tie? No, I think they'd win the championship by 1 or 2 points if it ended now. I think by 1 point they're currently 10 positions up the road. As ARL Abruzzi Esports move ahead. Corvettes look so cool. It'll be cool to see the Lambo out there as well in the GT3 class coming up. Two very cool looking cars. But if it ended right now, Wild Animals would be the champions. They just need to try to keep. Ooh, as ARL Esports have a spin. And Wild Animals are going to gain another position pretty easily. They need to try to keep about 10 positions between themselves and the AAA Esports car. But the problem for the AAA Esports car is that they've got so far to catch just to start making up. Wild Animals are right in the mix. We've got plenty of cars up for the grabbing further up the road. But by no means is over. We've still got over an hour of this season to go. It's been one of the most action-packed first 16 minutes of GT race I can recall for certain. And Wild Animals currently in 24th position, all going on just ahead with Bortolami in the and also Alex Morfuga Sim Sports. Bortolami actually in 20th place as the Performance Link BMW's really been in the wars so far. Have Performance Link, they dropped back down to 22nd position, but they're still in the top 10 in the amateur category.
Yeah, Fuga Sim Sports sort of getting their heads down, they're making up some positions, obviously getting past as many of the AM cars as they can, going very, very wide coming out of the S's there. So the next car on their radars, the PND Racing, as you say, of Enrico Bortolami. But then afterwards, you've got the DRS Wave Italy car, and that is for class position. Now, just about under 4 seconds up the road is the DRS Wave Italy car. So we're going to see what the pace is of the Fuga Sim Sport car to the Wave Italy cars we can now see on the shot. I have to agree with you, Sam. The Corvette is sort of warm to me a little bit. I wasn't entirely sure when it first came out in iRacing, but yeah, the more I've sort of looked at it, the more I've now seen with these, some of these amazing liveries that the guys have done. It does look very, very cool indeed. I definitely prefer it to the race car. Although I'm just looking, the Wave Italy car has been it's seen better days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not the best looking one out there, is it? It's certainly not the best looking one. Missing its bonnet at the moment and a crumpled nose to go with it. That will be affecting it, but remember that we will have pit stops between the 35 and 45 minute marks. Should be the lowest fuel consumption circuit on the calendar, I imagine this. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the fact that you have the S's and the Degners and the Hairpin as well, all going to be quite low fuel consumption circuits. You can imagine the S's and Degners, you can very much carry the speeds. You're not braking and accelerating a lot. You're kind of just easing off the throttle and can save a little bit of fuel. So there should be a little bit more maneuverability for the teams, a bit more flexibility when it comes to the pit stop strategy. Expect that in the 35 minutes. So even if you got damage for Dory, he just knows, just continue for another 15-20 minutes, and then you can get a brand new car using the fast repair, and your teammate can be very quick. And towards the end of the race, really don't want to have an extra pit stop if you can possibly avoid it. And currently Dory is driving well to keep up with the drivers just ahead. It's really opened up the podium position. It's like when the two Mercedes crash each other out there. Other drivers have actually got a chance of getting a podium. And at the moment, despite Manatee absolutely crushing the order 10 seconds clear of the rest of the field, Fuga Sim Sports and Epsilon and Malta, two very successful teams in Apex Racing League GT history. Danny Lee, of course, second place last season. Make Vysokovsky second place the season before that. And they've got Tom McMahon running in 6th place, who is the man who beat them both on those occasions. So some proper veterans of the States running higher, fighting for those podium places right now.
Yeah, exactly. This battle, you got 6 tenths between the Fuga Sim Sport car and the M Science Immortal car. So yeah, this is a battle that could very well be raging on throughout the race. But the pit stops are going to have that little bit of, going to add that. Depends, depends how much fuel saving these guys are doing. If the Porsche is actually conserving a bit less fuel than the Corvette, because they're probably able to save a small amount of fuel per lap by sitting behind them. And the gap is coming down, though. So it was actually 7/10 of a second as we went over the start-finish line. It's now just over 6/10 of a second. This is now where we're starting to see, and the driver, so Danny will be feeling this at the moment. He's starting to get a little bit of aero push, as we were talking about at the start of the race, Sam. It's just a little bit of aero push there. He didn't actually drop that much in terms of time, but the closer he gets going through those S's, that's where he's going to feel the effects more and more. So we could very well see that it's about 3/4 tenths of a second to be when the gap does come to 3 to 4 tenths of a second. That's when the aero is really going to start playing a part going through 130R and going through the S's. So be interesting to watch out for that.
Yeah, and the draft effect isn't very strong in these cars either, so it's not a case of, like in Formula 1, for example, where you lose a little bit of time in the turbulent air, but then you can gain some of it back just because they're so kind of draggy. These cars are a lot more streamlined, they're not huge cars, they are pretty big, but they're not huge cars, and certainly in iRacing, the draft effect isn't too strong, so it is a net loss, I think, and Daniel is struggling to kind of break within about half a second at the moment. There was an issue for the 148 cars, talking about Tom McMahon just a few moments ago, but he has had a problem. He's now into 8th position, actually lost out to his teammate in the 173 car and the Kairos competition 238. So I don't know if we get a replay of that. I think it was at the second Degner. It didn't seem to be off the circuit either, so they didn't highlight red, but they did just suddenly seem to lose a bit of time. You can see how far ahead they were, so they'd lost a bunch of time here. Ran a little bit wide through the first part, and then that was a proper spin, wasn't it? So they've lost probably 6 seconds right there. Unfortunately, lots of them lose a position to the Pure Sims Esports car right behind them. That's a shame for Tom McMahon, who was putting some good pressure on the Vulcan cars, but has kind of undone that good work.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame from that. I'm sure he'll come back. Like I said, Tom McMahon, he's got the pace. It was a good recovery, though, to be fair. Actually, looking at that recovery, it's very easily and very nearly went in the wall. But, at that point, didn't panic, just sort of hit the brakes. Admittedly, was a little bit of a passenger for the good majority of that spin. But the quick reaction to actually get on the brakes and trying to get that car stopped as early as possible. So it was a really good early recognizing that the car was going around. So there's that jump. As we've got there, that's the Performance Link Esports car, the number 285, yet again getting into the wall. So that's that was coming out of turn 2. So again, not entirely sure what happened there. We just caught the aftermath of that, but there was a little bit of contact. Could have been with the PND racing car, and this is Wild Animals. So not too sure what happened here. Going into turn 2, oh, that was very, very close and interesting from there. I don't know if we could very well get potentially a replay from the camera angle of Dimitri's car. But yeah, I'm not until we do have one here. So yeah, going into it, I think obviously there's a bit of a lockup from one of the cars up ahead. Yeah, I think to be fair, a bit of a racing incident there, Sam. I don't know how you feel about that, but that was just, I think, wrong place, wrong time for Wild Animals.
Yeah, certainly from that angle, it looked as though the car ahead kind of got slowed up by the spinning car just ahead of them, and Wild Animals couldn't really avoid it. But we can't be sure of the results, can we, at the end of the season? No. Unless I think if AAA win the race, or win on points, then I think that should be pretty solid. As we've got side by side into 130. Adam Gladden leaves space, but he's going to run wide. Getting a lot of speed by turning that. Dennis Hyperberg won a race a couple of seasons ago around this circuit by track extending that part of the circuit, but it works pretty well again for Vulcan Sim Racing, the 273. But yeah, I think if AAA win the championship, so far we haven't seen them do anything questionable. It was an over-aggressive move perhaps into turn 1, but I don't think they would get a penalty for it. I think maybe Wild Animals the more likely, but if Wild Animals get it on points, then we'll tentatively call them the championship winners, but by no means would it be finalised. Looking very good for Wild Animals at the moment. Thanks for tuning in for this season finale. Nearly 100 people viewing live at the moment. Let us know who you are supporting out there on circuit, and yeah, if you think that anyone's put in a particularly good drive so far, as we see, Scale Freak struggling a little bit and losing 2, even 3 positions as Cars Competition 236 on the comeback trail, making their way through. Scale Freak though with a clean car, having their best race of the season, running in 29th place.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Like we said, Scale Freak putting in a very, very good performance. Yeah, Cars Competition, they got a little bit of wing damage on the back of that Ferrari. They've got a bit of rear bumper damage as well. But yeah, they are just putting in the lap times at the moment. They are on an absolute charge from obviously their earlier incident. So yeah, P28, as we've got there, I'm not entirely sure. That was, again, the Performance Link Esports BMW. I don't know what Van der Ness is up to at the moment, but whether he's confusing currently the ARL GT Championship with the Rallycross Championship that Apex Racing League also looking to. Yeah, again, not too sure what's happened here. So this is going into... so we're just going to... this is the replay from a little bit earlier, so we're not going to be seeing that. And that was, as we're saying, a bit earlier as well. So I don't... So this was the same lap we've just been told as well. So I don't really know. Could potentially actually think about it, Sam. I don't know how your thoughts on this, but do you reckon they maybe have some suspension damage or some steering damage that's really hurting them? The car has been a bit battered since the start of the race. So... I don't know, have they got some steering damage or some suspension damage that's really causing these consistent spins? Because I don't think we've seen this from them this season.
Yeah, I think that's a very good shout. As Scale Freak lose a couple more positions. We've now got Razaholics ahead of them and T3, so Scale Freak have just been overtaken by 4 cars. I think you might be right about the damage though. But it's just reluctant to come into the pit seemingly and try and spat it out there. They're very much like a controversial reality TV star at the moment. That they're getting publicity, they're getting a lot of free broadcast time, but not necessarily for the right reasons at the moment. Are that team? But hopefully we see some more positives later on for them. As around the outside goes T3. That was all very gentlemanly there for Razaholics after an early pit stop, of course, for the German Austin Powers. Such is that livery for Matthias Beer and his brother, and they have dropped down to 29th position. A few cars ahead of them though, maybe up for an overtake.
Yeah, so we've just got a replay here of Dmitry Gofanov. This is in the Wild Animals car. Again, going through. I just could. Oh wow, that was very, very close and into the barrier again for Dmitry there. I think that could very well be some steering damage. That looked to be a bit of a hard hit on the rear of that car. So yeah, that was a bit of a shame. Again, that seems to be a bit of a problem corner actually. To be fair, the curb can unset the balance of the car not only on the entries, that inside curb, but also the exit curb as well. So I think drivers do need to watch out. Yeah, it looks to be. I think Dimitri's car is crabbing quite heavily. Just got an onboard now. So, and yeah, you can see that. Look at that. That's going to be. And bear in mind, they've now lost their fast repair. Their fast repair has been used. So anything they do now, they have to take the time. So this has just thrown another spanner into the works, but they're not pitting. How on earth they're going to get this car all the way to the pit stops? I have no idea, but they're going to have to do some required repairs. I would put money on they're going to be in the pits for a lot longer than they should be. So AAA Esports not out of this yet.
Well, that could be the championship for AAA, as you say, because for Wild Animals had it all sorted out, didn't they? They were so far ahead of AAA Esports. 15 places clear. By the time that AAA were going to catch up to the top 30 cars, they were probably going to be up into about 12th place. So they were going to have a comfortable advantage. And that mistake from Dmitry Kofanov is surely costing the championship, because as you say, they're going to have to take mandatory repairs, and they've already used their fast repair, obviously. So whilst they can stay out for as long as they can, the championship is surely gone, unless they don't have to take any required repairs. They will happily race the race, spend the rest of the race with this amount of damage, even though it's going to be losing them probably a second and a half, 2 seconds a lap. But that is a huge mistake from a team who have been so good this season. Remember, one at Daytona. Apologies, didn't win at Daytona. They won at Silverstone. But that is a very uncharacteristic mistake from the Igneo Motorsports Jacko Boschov off the circuit. That does promote Wild Animals up 1 place. The 127 now ahead of the 126.
Yeah, he's actually. I mean, yeah, wild animals. I mean, to be fair, from sort of previous experience with these cars, and unfortunately experience with putting these cars into barriers as well, with that sort of steering damage, I wouldn't be surprised if there was a good maybe 3 or 4 minutes of required repairs, let alone optional repairs, which is probably going to be another 2 minutes. So yeah, I think this could very well be the end of the championship for them. But again, we don't really know. We have absolutely no idea. Anything can happen. At the moment, this is the battle for track positions. You've got AAA Esports, who potentially could very well be the champions, even though they're currently sitting in P36. We have absolutely no idea. And we're not really going to know, I think, until after the pit stops and have a better idea. But they've just got past the Pro Academy Simsport car, the number 269 Ferrari. So I think ever more now, AAA Esports need to just get their head down and just drive a conservative race. As I said, they go very, very wide going through, just about to get onto the back straight. Yeah, I think, I suppose, an emotional roller coaster of a race already. It's only been half an hour into this hour and 20-minute race now.
Yeah, it really has been a roller coaster so far. Oh, this can't work well. There you go. Nearest wave ahead, off the circuit, back onto the circuit. They might be off the circuit very soon. But back on their way, 17th place at the moment and ahead of Wild Animals. By the way, Esports and Malta ahead of Fuga Simsport. So much has been going on. The 110 has got ahead of the 191. Wonder if Sam can maybe find out where that happened. I think it happened 2 or 3 laps ago. But Esports and Malta up into 2nd position, turning out to be a great race for them, albeit Dean Powell is the weaker driver and he will be getting into the car later on, albeit most of the strong drivers are in the car for the first stint because the driver who sets the fastest qualifying time must start the race. It was the overtake and it was a nice one as well. Daniel Lee, whose perhaps main weakness is his racecraft. We've seen it a couple of times. He lost a potential race win at Mosport last season going for a move on Tom McMahon, and he ended up spinning on that occasion. But that was much more like it, and he's actually been able to pull a little bit of a gap. So looking good for M-Science and Mortal to take that 2nd place tonight.
Yeah, very good stuff, Daniel Lee. That was a really, really well executed move going into the Casio Triangle. Very, very good stuff. Again, the Porsche, it's just showing its strength on the brakes. We know it's a very, very quick car. Again, as Manetti Racing are proving. But yeah, really, really good stuff there. That was a very, very controlled move. Again, that's one thing as well to note is you could see that move was really well executed. It was very well thought out as well. And that's one thing. It wasn't just a sort of last minute throw up the inside and just hope for the best. It was, you could tell that obviously Dan had probably seen the back of that Corvette for a bit longer than he wanted, but he was able to see where he was quicker, where he could then gain that position. So it was a very well thought out and well executed move. So very good stuff from Danny there. And as you say, he's already pulled 1.3 seconds. So at the moment, that gap seems to be going up. So at the moment, they are really on the way to having a nice sort of, at the moment, again, touch wood, hopefully the commentator doesn't get them. And actually, I'm not actually going to say what I was going to say. Let's not say that, actually, to be fair. I do not want to be the bearer of any sort of thing to happen like that. So yes, as I was saying, so M-Science Immortal, really, really good stuff, currently in P2. They just get head down and crack on, extend that lead, which they have done to P3. Leading Kairos competition car with Kevin Finn. Again, a stellar performance from these guys in the AM category. They're P7 overall. They're 5 positions ahead of Indy Autosport, who are the next car in class.
Yeah, a couple of questions on the YouTube chat about the Pro ratings. I'll explain how it's done. It's mainly done on iRacing. Also a little bit on experience as well. And you can see there, class competition, they're just overperforming. 2.5k is Kevin Finn's iRating. Their average iRating is 2.5k between the 2 drivers. Or at least it was at the start of the season. And so they've just overperformed. Look at the drivers that they're beating. They're beating a 5.5k driver in Tom McMahon, who's a 3-time Apex Racing League champion, won the last 2 Apex Racing League GT championships. And they've got Pure Sims Esports, Daniel Ferguson at 6.5k. They're just very good. That's the case really for class competition. We'd love to set the ratings after the season has ended, because then we can get them absolutely nailed on top half of the order, our pros and bottom half for amateurs. But we make the decision at the start of the season, and gives everyone a something to race for. Class competition have just been phenomenal. so far this season. Still do need to finish though, albeit Battleholics, of course, second place in the championship, having a poor round at the moment, aren't going to be able to take big points out of them. But this would be their best results of the season if Kairos could finish where they are currently running. Just going to look what their best result is. Yeah, they've had 2 14ths and a 10th so far this season. Yeah, have been driving exceptionally well and on for their best result of the season at the moment.
Yeah, they have indeed. Yeah, in the Autosports, like I said, doing very, very well. P2 in class. Going a racing team as well. Another good performance from those guys. They're currently P3 in class. And again, they're 6 positions ahead of Vulcan Sim Racing, who are currently in P4. So it seems to be the front of the grid for the AM class is very, very spread out. Again, I'm sure that was partially down to the potential instance that actually happened at the start of the race. I know it's a little bit further down the field, but that probably did shuffle the order up quite considerably. But we've got Indy Autosport there with a 56.4. Pacific Sim Motorsport with actually a 56.3, only just behind. That's Jesse Webb there in the 194 Corvette. So at the moment, those two guys, while again not battling in terms of, it would more so be a battle for track position, as a term for battle for class position. Yeah, lapping pretty much at the same sort of pace. We've just got the DRS Wave Italy car coming in the pits. They're the first, I believe, the first team to make their scheduled pit stop. We've just gone 35 minutes into the race, so I believe they are able to fill the car up. There'll be the driver swap, and they will then be able to go to the end. I don't think they've used their fast repair. I don't believe they used their fast repair. So what we should do is the bonnet will just pop back on the car, as you just saw it happen there. They're going to swap the drivers, put the fuel in the car, and then off they go to the end of the race. So they are the first people to come in, and what we're going to see now is everyone come in the next 2 or 3 laps, because this is about where all these cars can be going in. So yeah, once they've put some fuel in the car, they will be all able to go to the end.
Yeah, so if you got any damage, go get it fixed. And then you can get back out on circuit and have a nice quick cut. Bad news for Wild Animals, who are doing remarkably well, by the way. Currently up in 15th place. I don't think they've been overtaking anyone, Wild Animals. They've just had cars spinning ahead of them. WS Racing had an issue a few laps ago. I think Go Around Racing Team 223. Just a bit slower on that last lap. I think probably overperforming Danny Pinos at the moment. They had a very clean race, Go Around Racing Team. So Kofanov still in championship winning position. And I wonder if you could get cameras on Kenny Rusens for 888 Esports in 33rd position, because this is where Rusens is. Just a demonstration of what the gaps are, how much they've got to make up. If we go to Joe Ferguson for Scalefreak in 29th position, so there's 4 positions separately. That's the gap. So you got someone midway around the S's, and then you got someone who's coming out of the hairpin. And that's the amount of gap. In terms of time, it is 35 seconds. And Car Scalefreak are at the back of the pack, although even saying that, they've got another kind of 30 seconds to the top 20 from there. So, even getting a top 30 or a top 25, which is looking like where it's going to need to be at the moment for AAA Esports, will be tricky. Even though Wild Animals have made this one very tricky for themselves by having that unforced error. And they may get stuck in the pits anyway and have to take 3 minutes of repairs just to get back out on circuit Wild Animals. So it might already be over. It will be very interesting to see what happens when they come in for their pit stop, as Alex Moore is running in 18th place. I think he's just moved ahead of the Ignium Motorsports 126 car. So Ferguson Sport 113, a bit out of position. Up 8 places though from their start. They've had a good recovery so far.
Yeah, they have indeed. It was a really, really good move going around the inside, going into turn 1, subsequently turn 2 as well. They got that move set up, pulled out when they needed to pull out, and they obviously, to be fair, we had Ignium Motorsport again, giving them a good amount of space. So good driving from those guys, good clean racing, which is always what we like to see. And that was Jacko Boschov that was going through there. So very, very good. But at the moment, we've got, this is the battle, again, track position battle. This is Vulcan Sim Racing and Abruzzi Esports going side by side going through Spoon Curve. And they're still side by side going through the exit of Spoon Curve. So that's going to be so, so close. Guys, this isn't a battle for position. It's not a battle for class position, so it's still getting very, very close. But I think that is the Abruzzi Esports team has got ahead. We should see Vulcan Sim Racing pull into the draft, and they do so indeed, going through 130R. Again, good racing from these guys. Like I said, even though they're not actually racing for class position, some good battles on track. But what we're going to probably see here now is the Abruzzi Esports 174 Corvette pull away. He's already pulled 6 for second, and that is Steve Brown for Indy Autosport, the number 266 Corvette in 34th position. He has had a bit of a spin going through the S's, so not entirely sure if that was a bit of contact or that was self-inflicted, but we could potentially see a replay of that in just a second. We haven't seen anyone spin there yet, Sam, have we? I don't think, apart from the crash that we had at the start of the race.
Yeah, I think so, and this will be the classic dip wheel onto... No, actually, has he been hit by the Fuga car? I think so, but I'm not 100% sure. That was pretty tight there, and Steve Brown had to turn off the traction control, and then you can spin up the tyres and get back on your way quite quickly. Albeit it does take a little bit of life out of your tyres if you do spin them up quite that way. It does mean that AAA Esports are up into 31st position, but they still got plenty more to go. That was a position they were always going to make up, seeing that they're in close proximity. The 238s versus the 173, yes. M-Science and Mortal come into the pits. Interesting that they had to pit sooner. Ooh, as Kyle's competition nearly get hit by Tom McMahon. You had to be on his toes there. It's McMahon who famously retired due to a VR problem, or certainly a technical failure from the race lead a couple of seasons ago. When he was going for his 11th race victory, I believe, in 16 races, but unfortunately that ended his chances. And this he ended his chances as well. I mean, he may have been hit here. I think he may have been he may have gone straight into the dividing wall there, but very fortunately for him, O'Donnell Lines got into the pits, and he is now having his service, but pretty early into the race there, and that's a little bit of an odd decision for me, at least. I would have thought you'd want to go as long as possible, but those couple of teams decided to pit a bit earlier.
Yeah, interesting in terms, I think it could very well be, maybe track position. They want to try and get out in some clean air potentially, but we've got Dean Powell now currently the M-Science Mortal car after their pit stop. And to be fair, they come out in some pretty clean air, providing they can stay ahead of Fuga Simsport and Igni Motorsports. And they should be in a sort of good position where they've got heavy fuel now. They've got older tyres on heavier fuel. So Fuga Simsport maybe needs to capitalise on this opportunity and try and make up that position. One thing just to note, I'm sure Tom is going to need a new race suit. I think probably is the best way to put it for him, because that was so scary. So one problem with Suzuka, and that's the pit entry is on the racing line. There's no really clear divide until you sort of all of a sudden, very last minute, just sort of turn off into the pits. But by that point, you need to brake to make sure you actually get the car stopped for the pit marker. So yes, I think Tom will be, his eyes will be, bulging at that point, because that was very, very close indeed. But yeah, Fuga Simsports, Alex Moore. Currently, he's actually dropped 0.3 off. So Fuga Simsport, M-Science Immortal there. So we've got Dean that's really got the tyres up to temperature. He's worked the car probably quite hard in this first half of the lap, but he has pulled that 0.6 of a second out. And he's only about half a second away from, apologies, I'm going to say he's about 2 seconds away from the WS Racing Esports car. So he has come out into some clean air. So this could be a very tactful move. But at the moment, just looking at, we've got ARL Abruzzi Esports, I think that is, with Ignium Motorsport. This is the battle now for P18. They're going very, very close, going to 130R. Is there going to be a move? We know the Porsche is very, very good on the brakes here. But Abruzzi Esports, they are really using as much of the track as they possibly can. But they don't quite make the move yet. So yes, the battle for P18 is really raging on, as I believe that is Ignium Motorsport. They're going into the pits. So they have inherited that position. And Abruzzi Esports are now up to P16.
Wild Animals in for their pit stop. This is a massive moment in the championship, because we think they may have required repairs, and if that is the case, then they will have to stay stationed for a while. They've used their fast repair already, and so if their pit stop is particularly long, then that is an issue. We are expecting half a minute in the pit lane. They are currently at 20 seconds. AAA Esports will be into the pits pretty soon as well. They just need to hope that their rivals do have an issue. Certainly when at the end of the world, they are able to get out to the pits decently quickly, and they are out to the pits. Wild Animals are well in this championship hunt. They've got damage. They've got probably about 10 degrees of steering lock issues, and they haven't been able to fix really any of it over the safety during that period in the pit stop. But they are still going. So they make a very tentative move on Indy Autosports, who are a lap down. And, well, I guess this is particularly tricky now down for Artem, because he doesn't know how to drive a car like this. You can do all the practice that you like, but you're not going to practice with varying degrees of steering damage. So he's now got to figure out how on earth you drive this thing, and he is being very cautious so far on this lap. I'm sure he'll get faster, but he will be slow for these first few laps whilst he's figuring out how to drive this thing.
To be fair, if I'm honest, I'm not sure if is he actually going to get much faster. I'm sure he probably will gain a little bit of pace, but as much as we're going to get some burn off of the fuel, but the tyres are going to get older as well, and that's just going to make the car even more snappy to drive. Slow, if I'm honest, I don't think there's going to be much more pace coming out of that car. For Artem, he needs to just bring that car home, and I think in this sort of position that he's in, no risks need to be taken. They've definitely made it hard for themselves these last couple of races, let's be honest. I think that's the best way to put it. Obviously, we had that incident when they were going through Spa, going up Eau Rouge and Radion, as we just got Andy Shield from Pure Sims Esports car just coming out of the pits, and a gaggle of cars here. And this is the battle for P6. So yeah, M-Science Immortal, they've just moved back up. I believe that's the 110 car. They've moved back up to P6. So potentially, unless... I'm not too sure if Vulcan, Fugger, and the two Vulcan cars have pitted yet. I'm not entirely sure if they have. If they haven't, they're probably not far off of pitting. Yeah, Dean Powell, so he's back up into a position that he was roughly in before the pit stops happened. Yeah, Artem just needs to... Yeah, I know we've said it before, and again, for life of me, not the commentator's curse, but they just need to bring it home. Any other incidents, I think, will put that car at a big disadvantage. Honestly, I am shocked they didn't have any required repairs. I really am.
Yeah, I was expecting them to be held. In the commentary box, we always want a good championship, right? We really have no allegiances. I mean, even if we know some of the drivers, if they're winning, we want them to have an issue because we want it to be close. And that is probably the best thing for the championship, because if they were held for a couple of minutes, that would have been championship for AAA Esports. Instead, AAA need to finish, we think, about 25th, because we're expecting Wild Animals to finish in approximately 15th. And to stay there for the end of the race. Meanwhile, AAA Esports absolutely storming through. But when all the pit stops are complete, they're still going to be down in about 30th place, and they're still going to have about 20 seconds to catch up to 25th. And with only about half an hour to go. So this is as close as you like it. It's all 1 point differences from 12th downwards, I believe. I will check that in a moment. I think that's the case. And so you just need to imagine 9 points is the gap. If that was nearly AAA out of the race. The DRS wave have seemingly a technical failure right there, the 167 into the wall. But if Wild Animals beat AAA Esports by 9 positions or more, then they are going to be the champions. AAA still with a pit stop to make, remember. They have left it later than everyone else because they pitted earlier on in the race. They put a little bit more fuel, and so they are able to extend this stint a bit. So that's why they are currently up in 22nd place, but they will be down to about 28th when the pit stop is complete, as they go for a bit of a move on Indy Autosports, who are lapped down. Will the AAA car be into the pits this time round? They're going to continue one more lap, as everyone's pitted then. So everyone pitted at the front, and it's bad news for M-Science Immortal. So Dean Powell, who pitted from 2nd position, remember, they're down to 5th, and they're a long way behind Vegas Esports. Great pit stops for Vulcan Sim Racing, the 122 and the 177, and they've been able to move up into 3rd and 4th, and only just behind Vegas Esports 191. So M-Science Immortal, who had a similar length pit stop, but it seemed as though those extra laps with maybe some extra fuel, I guess, Daniel, and maybe Dean Powell being a bit slower than his teammate Daniel Lee, has really cost them Science and Immortal, and they've gone from the 2nd spot on the rostrum to quite far away from the rostrum.
Yeah, it's true. We're going to have to keep an eye on Dean and see what his pace is. At the moment, just looking at sort of their last laps, he was There or thereabouts. He was actually 8/10 of a lap quicker than both of the Vulcan Sim Racing cars. He was actually 9/10 quicker than the 122 Vulcan Sim Racing car. So he has got some pace in that car. So we're going to see that develop, I'm sure, especially come into the the latter half of the race. We're going to see that. We're going to see that race come up, I'm sure. What Dean has got is that he's got those cars in his sights. So that's one good thing. He doesn't need to get sucked into to catch them up too much, otherwise a mistake will be made. But he's got them in his sights. He knows what he needs to do. He's already actually pulled another couple of tenths on the on P4, the 177 Vulcan Sim Racing car. But he's actually pulling along with him the 173 Evo SR car, who's only 6/10 back. That's Mark Hutchinson that's currently driving. So yeah, he's only 6 till 7/10 back. So he's getting pulled along as well. So come the end of the race, or come especially, maybe in the last 10 minutes of the race, if that gap continues to come down at the rate that it is, we could not only have a potential two-way battle for P4 or P3, but potentially, a 3 or even a 4-car battle between P4 or P3.
Yeah, that could be a really good battle. It's been pretty good in terms of that best of the rest fights for the entire season, but particularly today. Whilst Manatee Racing are absolutely dominating, half a minute clear of the rest of the order. Yeah, really anyone from second down to probably 8th position could still finish on the podium. Bad pit stop as well for cars competition, the 238 car. They were running in 7th position, I believe, beforehand, but they've lost out to the 148 and the 116 car during the pit stops. But still in the lead of the amateur category, as we have WS Racing off the circuit, and who is the other team? Go Around Racing team, who are having a good run. Alvaro Cedillo recently getting into that car, and up to this point they'd really kind of maximised, whilst everyone else was having issues. Go Around Racing team were keeping it clean, and then they couldn't exactly avoid that one too much. I think that was AAA again, avoiding by the closest of margins a race-ending incident. They managed to pick their way through that, and that is big for AAA because they may be able to beat those two teams. Remember, AAA still with a pit stop to make, but that has cost some time for Go Around Racing team, and they are down to 26th position. So big shame for them. Didn't look like it was their fault.
Indeed, yes. Actually, to be fair, this is actually now, so you've got Artem there, but the car behind is AAA Esports. You've got Kenny Rusin behind Artem there. And just going out of shot, you can see the Wild Animals bright yellow Porsche. I can't imagine that AAA will be in a position where they're going to want to... Actually, as I said, that they come in the pits. I think, to be fair, that was probably the best thing to happen there. As much as we do want to see some battles going on, these guys aren't on the same... it's very, very close between those two. So we're going to have to see where AAA Esports come out. I believe you were saying, Sam, they need to come out about about 25th, was it? But they're obviously not going to be coming out at that point, but it's how much they can catch up within the next 25 minutes, which is only how long they've got. These guys have got the pace. Kenny has, very much got the pace in hand to catch up, I'm sure, but it's just how much he can really utilize and how much he can actually pull out of the car to get up to that sort of all-important, around that sort of P25 mark. He's already down in P27, and he potentially will lose a couple more positions. Not entirely sure yet.
I mean, it's painful, isn't it? And we could have a situation where they might catch up to the back of the pack right at the end of the race on like the last lap, but this is a long way to catch up. If there's any crumb of comfort, well, you know what, actually it hasn't really paved that way, because I thought they might be able to take a bit less fuel than the others. But instead, they've had to put a decent amount of fuel in, same amount as everyone else, and they're back out in 29th position. And they've still got half a minute to catch up just to get to P25. At the moment, we've got Wild Animals running in 16th position. They're pretty much by themselves, Wild Animals. They've got 7 seconds ahead of Fuga Sim Sports 133, and then they've got Valkyrie Esports just ahead of them. They've had a rough race, Valkyrie Esports so far. Also, Florian Beer for Razaholics just coming into the pit, so that will be another free position then for Wild Animals, which will make them another place up. And so they will be in 15th position, which would mean that at the moment, 23rd position would be needed for AAA Esports and also win the championship. They're currently in 29th. So yeah, they've got a lot of catching up to do. Wild Animals just trying to get to the finish. But there you can see they're by themselves, and that's how Arts and Rebel would like it. 56.6 that last time round. About 2 seconds slower than what we know they would be running. They're losing 2 seconds a lap, but 15th place at the moment would sew up in Apex Racing League GT Team Championship.
It would indeed. You like I said, anything can happen. We've got 25 minutes left of the race. Absolutely anything can happen. To be fair, Artem's doing a really good job to keep that car where it needs to be. But at the moment, battle for, as I said, the battle for track position, that was the Eclipse Racing team letting the AAA Esports car go. So that's one position already made up. And it's only been, well, it's actually been less than a lap since they come out of the pit. So that's one position. Again, it's only one position, but any win, I think, is going to be needed. So what they need to do, I think, AAA Esports need to take it just one position at a time. Okay, so you got P25, actually P27, Performance Link Esports, 12 seconds up the road. I mean, yeah, it's a mammoth ask from these guys. You know, they've got to pull 2 or 3 seconds a lap, as you say, to even get, you know, anywhere near the back of these guys. So
class competition have spun round. Well, I don't think this championship's going to be in jeopardy, but that's an awkward place. Close the pit lane, everyone. Ooh, don't do that. You don't want to roll the car, guys. O'Donnell lines, and he's gone into the pits. I don't think he necessarily wants to go into the pits, because I think he kind of just thought, well, that's the best way I can get out the wall. And I don't think it's going to be a third race win of the season in the amateur category. Let's say if they just go straight down the pit lane, or where they do actually come to a halt, because if they do, then they might have damage. I think, no, they are going to come to a halt. So is this just going to be a quick fast repair, as they're overshooting the pit stall? I think they may have sped on pit entry as well, so terrible news for the 238, who was running as high as 7th place. Obviously, earlier on, Wild Animals gain another place, albeit if Kaios is in that pits for a while, then they might be at threat of losing out to AAA. Kaios in the pit lane for a while, 20 seconds. What is going on with the championship leaders? Because they're not leaving the pit lane. Why not?
I don't know. Like you said, so it could be a drive-through penalty for them if they were speeding in the pits. Could potentially be as well be an unsafe pit entry. I don't know how the iRacing mechanics work, especially on the pit exit. But yeah, I'm not. We're just getting in. So Danebird has just come in saying EJ sped in the pit, so he's had a stop and go. Yeah, so a stop and go, that's 30, 40 seconds. So that's really hurt them. They're still in the pits. This must seem like an absolute age for these guys. They do finally leave the pits, but they're currently in P26. So yeah, Wild Animals getting promoted to another position. Unfortunately, not the case for AAA Esports, but they're not that far behind. Actually, to be honest, I've just noticed AAA Esports up to P27. So they gained another position here. So you got Goran Racing that's 23 seconds up the road. That was a 55.6 for those guys. So they're about 3 seconds, actually about 2.2 seconds quicker than P23, which at the moment is the number 236 car of Kairos competition. So I honestly say it's just too close to call, isn't it? It is just absolutely too close to call.
Stop the count, as a popular meme became recently, is I'm sure what the call will be. Yeah, they'll get Kairos competition, albeit Kairos competition are quick, although I don't think O'Donnell Lines is as quick as his teammate. Not sure if it is O'Donnell Lines. I think it may have been a glitch, because I swear he started the race, so that might be a glitch in our time screen. But I think it is O'Donnell Lines in that car. In fact, I can just go on. Yeah, it is O'Donnell Lines. I don't think he may be as quick as his teammate, but we'll wait to see. No, it wasn't O'Donnell Lines. It was the other one, wasn't it? Sorry, apologies. But in 26th position at the moment, as a few drivers are just going off the circuit further up the road. T3 have had an issue. T3 have had an issue. This might be another easy position for AAA Esports. There they are. Well, it's not too bad for them. They're in that coveted 23rd position, which, well, actually, they need 22nd position to AAA Esports, but that will help them out a little bit. Fabian Meyer with an issue down at the Casio Triangle. There was also just a really good battle, actually, for 5th place. And apologies if we haven't been catching any battles that maybe you're part of a fan club of a team and you want to see them. There's been a lot going on at the moment. We're trying to keep you up to date as well with the championship order, but this one is very good. M Science and Malta had to hold off Evo SR 173 for a few corners a couple of laps ago. In fact, the 173 momentarily got ahead, maybe on the brakes, but it was Dean Powell who managed to retaliate. And 5th position at the moment for them. James Salt in the other Evo SR car, the 148, catching up to the back. And then we're also Artur Godzik as well. Very strong driver is Artur Godzik, of course, podium sitter in the past, in fact, maybe even a race winner in the past in the Apex Racing League GT Championship. He is running in 8th and is catching up to these guys by a second a lap. So it seems as though Fuga Sim Sports 191 and Vulcan Sim Racing 1 and 2 are going to stay in that 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but the battle behind them between these 4 cars, and maybe also Andy Shield from Pure Sims 3, is very hotly contested at the moment. It's very good racing.
It is indeed. So yeah, Dean Powell's unfortunate early pit. We were actually talking about a few laps ago that if M signs Immortals 15 can actually pull the 173 Evo SR car along, because they were catching up to the Vulcan Sim Racing cars at one point. Unfortunately, that has now completely turned on its head. And they are now instead having to defend from both the Evo SR cards. Although, this is actually, I was going to say, this is good in a respect for Dean Powell, as we've got there. That is Mario Ferrari in, ironically, the Ferrari 488 GTE car. He's had a moment at the, I believe that is the Casio Triangle. And he's going in the pit, so that is 1 position gain for AAA Esports. They've moved up to P26. We've got a replay of it here, so going through 130R, we're going to be towards this, but it looked to be, yes, a lot of speed carried through 130R. And these guys are probably not far off being flat out with a little bit of brakes. And that was just, oh, that was very, very close. That was the Chorus competition car. That was a shame there indeed. Yeah, Mario Ferrari, a complete passenger for that there. So, bit of a shame, and they are in the pit, so that has indeed promoted them. So, yeah, unfortunately, they've lost a lot of positions there. So, a bit of a shame from those guys. Hopefully, they can get the car back out, and hopefully, there wasn't too much in terms of damage. They could very well have a fast repair that they haven't used. They may not be in the pits for too long. Yeah, the battle at the moment now on track with the Indy Auto Sports car, the number 211, and the Pacific Sim Motorsport car, the 194, with Curtis Jones currently at the wheel. This is a battle for track position, not a battle for class position. But to be fair, Sam, we've actually seen quite a lot of different battles between classes, haven't we, actually, which has been quite good to see. It's good to see the Am and the Pro mixing about with each other.
Yeah, it's been really close so far tonight between all of those teams from professional to amateur. I think we've kind of seen that so far this season. And to be fair, I think this is possibly the most segregated timing tower we've had, because you've got Indy Autosports overperforming in the 211, but then 18th downwards is all out, at least down to 25th position. But there's really not much of a difference. Of course, we do rate it mainly on iRacing, and that's not the full story by any means. How much practice you put in, how much effort you put in, how confident you are in the GT cars is very important. I've just looked at the overall championship order, and I may have to add another category of another layer to this. So, Pure Sims Esports were in 3rd position in the championship going into this round. They're only running in, I don't think they're going to be able to challenge for the championship. However, Vulcan Sim Racing 122 entered this round in 4th position in the championship. They started the race 30 points behind AAA Esports and 21 points behind Wild Animals. At the moment, they are 11 places clear of Wild Animals. That is, I think, a 25-point game. So if it ended like this, Vulcan Sim Racing, who haven't finished on the podium, I think, so far this season, they may just be able to nick this championship. They've had a 5th, a 3rd, and a 12th. I think if it ended like this, it might be Vulcan Sim Racing, who we haven't even talked about. I hadn't even taken them into consideration because I thought they were out of the championship. But could the 122 car challenge? We're not going to be sure. I'll try to get the points done as soon as the race finishes. But under the radar, remarkably, Daniel, they might just do this because it's quite a steep point scoring system. 3rd place might be good enough for them, and if they could get Fuga Sim Sports, they have pulled away to be fair, but if they could get Fuga Sim Sports, then that would help them even more. So we've got a 3-way fight for the championship, and they're all on 3 totally different parts of the circuit.
I was about to say, it's interesting, isn't it? And yeah, like you said, Sam, we haven't actually really talked about the Vulcan sim racing cars. Potentially, that's what we may be seeing. It could very well be that the 177 car may have a little bit more pace in terms of this, but at the moment, they may be thinking this. They may be, as we've got Mick Anderson that's currently closing up that gap, another 10th of a second. Potentially, we may not see a move, or that's potentially why we haven't seen a bit of more fighting from these guys. Obviously, I'm sure team models are playing a bit into it as well. But yeah, I think realistically, this could very well be something that, like you said, we have not considered at all.
What's gone on with Manatee Racing? This could change things. They've
They've gone off.
crashed. They've crashed Manatee Racing, who aren't in the championship. Oh, guys, they're going for their 3rd race win of the season, and this could change everything. Because if Vulcan Sim Racing do move up into 2nd place, and that would be an easy few points, they've got such a huge gap. The 2nd place have only just crossed the start-finish line, so if they haven't got damage, they'll be fine. But I wonder if we get an onboard with them to see how much problem is in that car. It looks all right to me. Yeah, the steering is fine. Oh, wow, well, you couldn't write this stuff. I mean, you wouldn't believe that it could happen in real life. 1 hour, 5 minutes, and this has been a remarkable event so far. And Manatee Racing, who have crushed the opposition at Spa, crushed the opposition today, have made an inexplicable mistake through the S's.
It was very uncharacteristic, wasn't it? From Alex Massier there. We haven't seen a mistake like that from these guys pretty much all season. They've got a little bit of rear end damage with the aero. You can just see the wing is taking a little bit of a beating. It's not too bad. It doesn't look like any other damage is there. As we said, the steering is straight for these guys, so that is okay. I mean, to be honest, it's minimal. They're probably losing maybe 2 or 3 kilometers, maybe a little bit more down the straight. That's probably it. I'm sure they're still going to be providing again. And they've got to be probably a little bit careful. I'm sure there's a bit of tentativeness there going through 130R for the first time with that extra damage. But I don't think it's really going to be hurting these guys too much. We're going to see how their lap times fare. But yeah, the gap is still getting on for, like I said, I'm just going to have a look on the time screen now, but the gap is still 24 seconds. So yeah, I think these guys are still pretty comfortable in terms of their lap time. But they did lose a good, 10, 12 seconds through there. This is the battle, though, going on between P7 and P6. You've got Fuga Simsport and Evo SR. Are they going to go side by side going into 130R? I don't think they will be, but the Casio Triangle could very well be where a move is made. A little bit too far back, though. Mark Hutchinson not needing to defend this time around. But potentially, this is going to be a battle that's going to be happening. There's going to be a move potentially going through into turn 1. Again, we know the BMW is so quick in a straight line. And I believe the gap is already coming down. It is. And you can just see in the delta on the right-hand side, the gap is coming down. It's just going to be under a 10th going into turn 1. He looks to make a move, but gets cut off. So Arthur not able to make that move going through. Runs a little bit wide going into turn 2. But he managed to get the car all checked up. It's so close. He's going to try and go around the outside. Doesn't quite make the move stick. And again, it's pretty much single file now going through the S's. It needs to be. It's very hard to go. As I say that, we've got Mark that had a big moment there. Just going to jump on board with Arthur now. Yeah, this is so close from these guys. Yeah, but I thought, honestly, to be fair, I thought the number 173 Evo SR car was going around then. It just looked to be the rear really rotating quite sharply, which I don't think Mark was expecting. It goes to show, though, Sam, how hard these guys are trying to drive these cars. And again, we've just got Mark there trying to explore every ounce and every part of the track and a little bit more, as it seems.
Yeah, really just trying to get absolutely everything out of the car. And of course, if you do track extend a bit, then you will pick up 1Xs, and for every 15 incidents that you get, you do get 5 penalty points. As Cars Competition 236 have had another issue. They have had a bad day. Emil Wimbe potentially in line for a penalty, I think, as well, post-race. They have been in the wars and may have to bring it on into the pits, but they do continue. But that's a mega type battle. There was actually a bit of contact a couple of laps ago down at the hairpin as we see the Cars Competition 236 car have a spin. Ooh, that could have been a lot worse. But yeah, we saw the battle from about 5th down to 8th have some contact at the hairpin a couple of laps ago. As Triple A make an unforced error, that's not going to be the end of the world for them, but that's a 3 or 4 seconds lost unnecessarily for them. Yeah, that's that's a bad mistake for them. I wonder, Sam, if we could find that incident, actually. I think it was between, I'm pretty sure the 148 EBRSR car was involved in it. I think it was about 3 laps ago, but yeah, I think they collided with maybe Fuga Simsport 181 down at the hairpin about 3 laps ago. So it has come to a boil in that one, and you can kind of see how feisty the drivers were getting for between Mark Hutchinson and Artur Godzik down there. Godzik now actually ahead of Fuga Simsport. So good news for them. Are they going to be able to catch up to Dean Powell? Maybe a little bit too far ahead, as we see Wild Animals trying to pick up another couple of places at the moment. The position that they're in will be good enough for them. And this is the battle just ahead of them. Valkyrie Esports actually making that move then on Pacific Simsport. So you had a very good start. There goes Wild Animals. Well, they are throwing caution to the wind. They don't need this position. They're going to go for it anyway. And there's barely anything between the cars. That was a nice Eddie Irvine 97 move there from Artem Grabau. He moves up to 13th place, which means that their drivers would have to finish in 21st place. AAA Esports currently running in 24th position, but Indy Sports are into the pits and they're up to 23rd position now. So it is ever so close, and we think Vulcan Sim Racing 122 are in the shouts as well.
I know this is going to be, like you said, a three-way battle, and the cars are nowhere near each other on track. I don't know, to be fair, that we've got Wild Animals that are only 3/10 away from that Valkyrie Esports car. So is it going to be another position for those guys? If it is, then obviously we're then going to have to see the AAA Esports need to make a position again. So they're going to have to again get into the top 20 overall. So, like I said, with 10 minutes to go, again, it is so close to call. But AAA Esports, again, they're actually putting in, I mean, again, they're putting in some really quick lap times. And the gap, this is going to be close. So Ignium Motorsport, 7.5 seconds up the road. To be fair, that is a manageable gap with the pace that AAA Esports have got and the pace that Amari is currently running. That is within reach, and that is doable. Passing is obviously going to be very tricky in itself, but that is potentially doable. T3 Esports, however, 11 seconds up the road, that's a bit less likely. Again, we don't know, anything could happen. But at the moment, in terms of if there were no other incidents to play into account, I think 11 seconds is maybe a little pushing it a little bit too much. But you can see there again these the AAA Esports cars. Amari is absolutely on the limit. The car's squirming on the exit of Spoon Curve. So again, I don't really know how it's going to work. The gap is 2.38 seconds to the Go Around Racing team. What they need to do is make sure, without Alvaro Cedillo currently driving that 223 Ferrari. So we've got AAA bearing down on the gap is now 1.8 seconds. So they took half a second out just going through 130R and going into the Casino Triangle. The Casio Triangle, I said. The Casino Triangle? No, Casio Triangle. That's Monaco down. It's going to be so... So we've just had Rob Sutherland come in and just say Valkyrie may have post-race penalty. Not entirely sure. Potentially they could very well do. We could have a few people having some post-race penalties. So I don't think, Sam, this is all over when the checkered flag drops.
Yeah, well, with the post-race penalties, though, they're not going to be time penalties, so it won't affect any of the championship contenders, as long as they don't get penalties themselves. It'll just be point penalties applied to them. So even if you get, say, beaten by a driver with a penalty, you can't gain any points in that circumstance. So maybe that was what Rob was alluding to, perhaps, because I think you're right that Valkyrie will have penalties. They did have at least 2 incidents, I recall them having. I think one of them seemed a bit of a slam dunk. I've just looked at the points as well between Vulcan Sim Racing 122 and Wild Animals. So at the moment, they would outscore them by 18 points. The gap going into this race was 21 points. So I think we're going to, at the moment, it's Wild Animals in the lead of the championship by 2 points over AAA, who are another 1 point ahead of Vulcan Sim Racing. And there's no real hope for Vulcan Sim Racing to make up another place at 10 seconds behind Fuga Simsports at 191 and losing quite a bit of time at the moment. So not too much of a hope on that regard. I've also just thought, are Pro AAA Esports on the lead lap? Because we had that issue for Manatee Racing. But of course, AAA Esports before that were a lap down, and they are still a lap down, so they may actually lose out crucially on a lap. AAA Esports, because Manatee Racing are lap clear. That may make all the difference. So that one will be that could be a painful loss for them if they do lose out on one of those. That's 6 minutes to go, however. And yeah, what a first season of the Apex Racing League GT Team Championship has been. And well, thanks for tuning in for this one. I think we've been in a bit of a roller coaster. This is what these kind of feature-length races can do. A lot can happen in the course of 80 minutes. And this race has certainly been an exhibition in that. We're currently watching Ignium Motorsports 126 holding off the Sim Sports car 113. However, I kind of want to see a little bit further up the road the 117 Valkyrie Esports car versus the Wild Animals car, because Valkyrie Esports have been very quick so far in this race and have actually been faster than Wild Animals on the most part, because Wild Animals have got that damage that you can see right now. But if Wild Animals could move up into 12th position, that would surely seal the championship, because that I can't see AAA Esports getting up to 20th. They could get up to 21st, but I don't think they're going to get up to 20th. So Wild Animals really need that position if they possibly can.
Yeah, but you can just see how much they lost in terms of turn going through down the straight. You just saw Valkyrie Esports just absolutely disappeared from down the straight. So as much as Artem is putting in a very, very good performance at the same time, again, just going through, you can see how tentative that Artem is needing to be. The Valkyrie Esports car, the 117 car, currently driven by Bastian, just doesn't need to be. Although I do say that Artem seems to be catching them up. So, yeah, again, is there going to be another position here? I don't really know. If anything, is it something that Wild Animals is? Can Artem be that aggressive? I don't think he can be. Again, if by the looks of it, especially with the car and the way it's behaving, a little bit too much aggression, that could potentially upset the balance of the car quite considerably, and they could very well lose out that position. So yeah, Valkyrie Esports, a bit of a key player currently in how the championship is going to go. Like we said, AAA Esports could very well lose out on that position, and they could lose out on that extra lap, which is going to hurt them quite considerably. Again, just going through here, you can already see that Valkyrie Esports and also the Delta on the right-hand side, it's just pulling away, and they've already gained about 0.2 of a second just on that smaller straight. So again, they're going to gain a bit of time going through the spoon curve, but then coming through to the start, to the main straight down the back straight. Again, just look at the right-hand delta. The gap is 0.5 of a second. It's just about to get up to 0.6 of a second. Probably going to be 0.7 before they get into Casio, into the Casio triangle. It's actually going to be more than that. So yeah, it's so close. But I don't think Artem can really put any more positions with the current state that car is in. Let's be honest.
So. I honestly, the amount of times I've gone through this, so the gap going into this race was 9 points. So they need to beat, Wild Animals need to beat AAA Esports by 9 positions. And at the moment, they are beating them by 9 positions. So,
not more.
But here comes AAA Esports. And they are going to move ahead of Ignium Motorsports 229, and that's by 1 point, by my calculations, is currently the championship. But AAA Esports, they're not going to catch up to anyone. They've got 5.4 seconds to AAA to T3 Esports. They've only got 2 more laps to go because they're 1 lap down. Otherwise, they'd have 3 laps to go. I think they would catch with 3 laps, but they've only got 2 laps to go. So the championship now hinges on Bastian de Silva, who has had a remarkable race, as we might just see a move here down the inside, or Wild Animals who move ahead for a moment, but they're going to be so slow out of the corner. They've got terrible track, and this is where the championship is at the moment, because AAA Esports in 21st, they need 12th place to Wild Animals. If they're going to win this race, they've got 1 lap to go after this one. I believe it might even be 2 laps to go after this one, because they are on the lead lap, unlike AAA Esports, and they've got 2 laps to pass for the championship. Razaholics are off the circuit as well in 18th place. The 287, there they are, where are AAA Esports in relation? There they are. They're catching up very quickly, and Mateus Beer isn't getting back going quick enough. And AAA move ahead into 20th position. And now it is well and truly in their hands. Wild Animals need 11th place, and that's not going to happen because Bastian de Silva is ahead of them, and well up the road is Kevin Kitzelman for Indy Autosports, 10 seconds up the road. So something spectacular now needs to happen in order to take this championship away from AAA Esports. It's all changed in one lap.
Like, we've got there's 35 seconds left of this race in terms of the actual time before the flag drops. And like you said, it's just swung completely the opposite way from Wild Animals Esports, from Wild Animals. I cannot believe that, but the battle is still raging on for P12, sorry. So again, I don't know who's going to make. They're going to try and make the move up the inside, going out of the S's. They seem to do it, but again, this is where they're going to struggle. And you can already see Valkyrie Esports and Artemis losing out on that speed at the moment. So, I mean, considering they've kept the car on this track for this long, I mean, wow, what a drive from these two to nurse this car all the way through. Bear in mind, Artem didn't actually have a chance to drive the clean car. So he's been having to nurse this damage as soon as he got in the pits. Yet he can't quite make that move stick. He's going to go for another move down the inside of the hairpin. It's going to be in vain, though, because, again, although as I say that, you got Valkyrie Esports going very, very wide. They're now dropped 4/10 back. And so at the moment, provisionally, you've got Valkyrie Esports that have lost the position. So Wild Animals up to P12. But as we have seen, that is not enough. And they're going to look to potentially make a move. I think, chaps, just wait. That's not what you wanted to do. I was going to say wait until you get on the straight. You're just going to breeze past them. And we're going to see here, the gap is 0.6 of a second. Is Bastian actually going to catch up with them? I think, to be fair, that mistake at Spoon Curve cost them. They shouldn't have made that move through there. They should have waited to come down the straight. As we've got Bastian, are they letting them by? They don't seem to be. No, they were trying to just pull out of the toe. I thought for a moment that potentially Wild Animals almost run out of fuel then. That was very, very scary from that camera angle. But it seems to be, at the moment, they are okay. But yeah, this could very well be the last lap. And it's too close. I don't know what's going to happen. I absolutely don't know what's going to happen. But I think Valkyrie Esports are going to get the jump on them going into turn 1, and Wild Animals are going to have to do it all over again.
Yeah, well, they had the position across the line, so they can do it again, and that might be good enough for them. They're so aggressive, and remember, they need more than this. But something could so easily happen up the road, as we've seen so many times. And Razaholics, having their issue, may have just given AAA Esports the championship. Look at what else. They're pushing Valkyrie Esports around as Manatee Racing are coming up to the line. They're going to take their 3rd race win of the season. If it weren't for the driver stop, if it weren't for that Paul Silverstone round, then they would have won the championship. But they have taken 3 out of 4 races. Congratulations to Manatee Racing as they go off into the sky. AAA Esports have crossed the line. They've done all they can do. They have got 20th position at AAA Esports. I checked to see if they've got any penalty points. They do not. They got 11 incidents, so they're fine for penalty points. So the question now is, can Wild Animals finish in 11th place? They need something to happen ahead of them. They need an incident to happen ahead of them. They're right on the limit as well in terms of instant points. They've only got 2 instant points to spare. They would love to pass Valkyrie Esports and do everything that they possibly can, but right now it's not looking their way. We can confirm that cars competition 2, 3, 8, provided they get no penalties, which it doesn't look like they're going to do. They are going to be the amateur champions. But Indy Autosports in the 2-11 car just up the road, as long as they finish in 11th position, they will take enough points. And Artem, Gabal and Wild Animals, who had it in their clutches before a mistake through the second Degner, Indy Autosport finish in 11th position. They win out of the amateur category. Valkyrie Esports 117 finished 12th, and I believe by 2 points provisionally before any penalties that we have, AAA Esports, who finish in 20th position, the 162 car, are the Apex Racing League GT Team Champions. And that's by far the best season finale I've ever seen. Daniel, you should feel very lucky that we've witnessed this and being able to commentate on this, because that swung every which way. Heck, one moment we thought Vulcan Sim Racing were going to win the championship, but as things stand, AAA Esports are the champions, and well, that's absolutely remarkable result.
It is indeed. You know, to be fair, this is definitely one of the best championships that I've been a part of. And to be fair, like I said, my first actual championship, some of my first events commentating with the Apex Racing League. I just want to say, you know, thank you for having me on, gents. I hope to do very many more of these in the future. And if this is anything to go by, I can't wait for the next season to start. I can't wait for the next events that I'm going to be commentating on. Yeah, I mean, wow. Honestly, you know, we were second guessing ourselves for about 45 minutes of that race as to who was actually going to be winning. But yeah, like I said, provisionally, we don't want to, you know, at the end of the day, it's one of those things that, yes, we've got a pretty good idea. However, we're not 100% sure because you do have to be careful. But yes, at the moment, provisionally, these are the finishing results. So yes, Maniti Racing taking the win again, another 31 seconds ahead. Would have been more had they not had that incident. Fuga Sim Sport in P2, and then the 122 Vulcan Sim Racing car rounding out the top three for the AM class. We've got Indy Autosport there. Again, another mega showing from those guys in P11 overall, but taking the win. Obviously, after that Cars competition car having that incident again, but they do, again, I believe they do take the championship. But no, a really good result from the Indy Autosport guys.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let you go through the rest of the order just because I am currently trying to figure out these points. So I'll let you run through the rest of it.
No worries at all. So we're going to go from 11. So we have, yes, Indy Autosport taking the AM win. Valkyrie Esports in P12, Wild Animals in P13. Unfortunately, that's just slipping away. The championship slipping away from them the further and further it got to the end of that race. Pacific Sims Motorsport in P14, Ignium Motorsport P15, Fuga Sim Sport in 16th, WS Racing Esports in 17th. We have Vulcan Sim Racing, the number 273 AM car, taking P2 in the AM category, with T3 Esports taking P3, the number 271, 19th overall. AAA Esports ultimately getting that P20 that they needed. Currently getting the 162 Porsche, as we said provisionally, they do take the championship by not that very many points. Ignium Motorsport, P21, Razaholics, P22, Go-Around Racing Team, P23, and the two Cars competition cars, the 236 and the 238, finishing in P24 and P25 respectively. Indy Autosport, the number 218 car, finishing in P26, Eclipse Racing Team, P27, Simtech Racing, P28. And as we ran off the last few drivers, Pro Academy Sim Sport, the number 269 car, P29, P&D Racing in 30th, Indy Autosport 31st, Scale Freak in 32nd, Performance Link Esports 33rd, RLR Abruzzi Esports not having a great race all in all for them in P34. Also, likewise with DSR Wave Italy in P35. Perfect Vision Racing P36. Pure Sims Freem in the 118 car. Actually, to be fair, they did seem to be with 35 laps down. And last but not least, SCS Motorsports, unfortunately 41 laps down with the number 242 car. What a championship. What an event. I really hope everyone enjoyed it. I know we definitely did commentating, as you probably could tell from the excitement in our voices going through that commentary. But yes, absolutely incredible. And I'm hoping in a second we're going to be able to have a chance to chat with a few drivers. But yeah, I think as championships go, that probably couldn't have... I don't think I've ever been in a position where that's come down closer. And also so difficult to almost gather and to see who actually was winning. It's not as... definitely wasn't as clear cut as it as we have seen in sort of previous championships.
Absolutely. I've just calculated the points. So, and again, like you were saying before, you know, this is all provisional. Heck, a driver could have signed up with the wrong number or the wrong team ID, which would be a shame for the season to end, but we would have to give a penalty for that, or any on-track discretions. But at the moment, AAA Esports 187 have 187 points. Wild Animals 185 points. Vulcan Sim Racing 182 points, and even behind that you've got Fuga Sim Sports with 176 points, Pure Sims Esports with 165, and Manatee Racing, despite taking a 50-point penalty and a 10-point penalty for a non-track discretion, only finish 25 points off the race, off the championship lead. And we can also say that Cars Competition with 116 points were in the amateur category, ahead of Ignium Motorsports and Razaholics Alcoholics with 99 and 93 points respectively. Also, T3 Esports actually drawing with Razaholics, so they may get ahead a few. Countback will have to be included with that one. So we will try to get an interview then with some of our championship contenders and some of our race drivers as well. First up, I think we are going to have an opportunity to talk with our, what we believe are championship winners. Kenny Rusens is in for a chat with us. I'm not sure if Amory wants to have a chat. I did check him up, but he's quickly left.
Yeah, I think he's there.
Okay, I'll drag him back up, but there he is. Well done, guys. By our calculations, you are the champions by 2 points. Kenny, first up, you in the car first. That was a roller coaster. How are you feeling right now?
I don't know. Not gonna lie, I'm happy, but I'm a bit disappointed because it ended like a bit of drama. But yeah, at the end we are champions, so I'm still happy. But it could have been a way better race and more fun. But yeah, that's the race. So yeah, nothing. Yeah, we are happy at the end. So yeah.
Absolutely. Talk us through that incident with wild animals, Kenny. It looked like you went down the inside. I mean, what was your advantage of it? Do you think there was anyone at fault?
So I saw the first 2 laps. So we were running lower aero than them. So the lap before I tried to pass, but he covered inside. So I knew that I had to try something on the straight. So I brained him a bit to I faked the left side of the track, and when I saw he was going on the left, I just picked the inside, and I had the space to put my car in, and yeah, he just squeezed me on the grass before the first corner, and I just lose the control on the car and just destroy the wall. No, I couldn't control the car anymore when I had my 2-wheel on the grass, so nothing I could do. For me, to be honest, it was a really good move. I just brained him on the straight, and nothing he could have do. But yeah, it's a shame he squeezed me on the grass.
Yeah, but what a comeback it was after that. Amory, you had it all to do. Did you know what position you had to finish in order to win the championship? Were you calculating that whilst you're in the car, or were you completely oblivious to the championship connotations?
Yes, I did a good stint to finish P21. I'm very happy. Thanks to Kenny for the setup. He did an amazing setup at Silverstone Spa. Thanks to April.
But yeah, during the race, I was calculating the point with the Google Sheet to see how much point, which position we needed to be champion. And so yeah, we knew first. I think we had to finish P22, but then gain a position, so we had to finish P20, and at the end we finished P20. So yeah.
Yeah, it was a roller coaster for us. We were trying to figure it out as well with everything. But congratulations, guys! You thoroughly deserve this championship. Providing you don't get any post-race penalties, please don't, because it'd be quite nice if that was the championship to a close. I doubt you will get anything. Congratulations on the title. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, to all the AAA staff again, the sponsor, Puma, Wave Italy, A-Respect, and all the drivers who helped us, especially Arturo Melger, who tested with us. Amory, of course, for the job all the season, and this is Turka, who couldn't be present today because they had the French Championship. But yeah, and also congrats to Manichi because they were super quick all the season. And yeah, they were, to be honest, the fastest car of everyone. So yeah, congrats to them, and I hope we can have a good one for the next season.
Absolutely. Awesome to chat with you guys. Congrats on the title, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you back in the new year.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good one. Peace.
So that was Amory Bonjour and Kenny Rusen there, your champions for the season. I don't know how Ami was driving to. If I knew what was at stake there, I would have been an absolute mess. We did see him make a mistake, but besides from that, they drove brilliantly to get back up into that championship winning position in 20th place. Daniel, is there anyone? There's quite a few drivers in the
There is.
interview waiting area. Who would you like to have a chat with?
Well, I think to be fair, if we could bring in potentially EJ and Kevin, the championship winners in the Pro-Am class, I think that's definitely the people we need to speak to now. Gentlemen, how are we doing? I think we'll start with EJ, if that's okay. I mean, actually, to be fair, first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to you two. The Cars competition car number 238 champions in the AM category. EJ, how did that? Obviously, probably not the result that you wanted in terms of the race, but obviously from an overall perspective, for yourself, how was it for you to, especially to get that championship?
Yeah, just glad that race is over, man. Kevin did an awesome job first stint. He was running really, really fast. He was faster than me this week for sure. And then when I got in the car, I just started making small mistakes, and it just got me flustered, and I kept making mistakes. So we were fortunate. We had a really big lead coming into this round. So just thankful that we had 3 races before this that we didn't have any mistakes. And then we really just had to, as long as we finished in the points in this race, it was pretty much a promise that we were going to end up winning the AM championship. So super stoked. Kairos is a really small team. So this is huge for us to get a championship under our belt, even if it is an amateur championship. And yeah, we're just super excited to see kind of where we can go from here.
Absolutely. To be fair, throughout the season, you guys are really punching above the weight in terms of, mixed in with the, pretty high up in terms of the pro category as well. So, no, really, really good stuff. Kevin, question for yourself. How did it, well, actually, to be fair, I can imagine, what was it like for you after that first stint, in terms of sitting there? Was it very much letting EJ sort of crack on with the race, or, how much sort of communication was there between yourselves?
I was well used to, from the 3 previous races, I always came in as second stint. EJ did qualifying, but this week, I was confident enough in the pace. Like, the practice sessions had gone well all week. So, once I kind of handed over to EJ, I was sweating. Like, I knew I'd kind of done my bit there, because I had to make up for last week. I made a mistake last week and it lost us the win, so I felt a bit bad. So that's why I kind of pushed as hard as I did. But I was just, once I kind of got out of the car, I was just keeping EJ informed of the times. Obviously, like he said, he had that unlucky incident at the pit entrance, and it kind of obviously set us back a fair bit, but we were comfy enough with the championship because we were solid enough in the last 3 rounds. So happy to get out of it, and it was my first kind of league thing to actually do on iRacing, so it was cool to win it like that.
Well, absolutely. To be fair, like I said, for your first ever series on iRacing, like I said, to take the win, that's definitely something that I'm sure both of you are going to be, and to be fair, the whole Chorus competition team as well, will be, really be sort of powering through for future championships and future series to come. So that's been absolutely fantastic. So EJ, but before we wrap up, anyone you'd like to give a quick shout out to, any sponsors or anything before we wrap up?
We're looking for sponsors, so we don't have enough. Good plug there. And no, just thanks, guys, for putting on an awesome broadcast every week. Thanks, Sam, for all the work you've done in kind of being the admin, setting all this up for ARL. And just thanks for everything. And we hope to be able to take part in some of the championships coming up here.
Good stuff. No, really good stuff. Kevin, again, same question for yourself. I think actually, to be fair, EJ, you were saying there were no sponsors. I think this is as good of a plug as any to win the AM Championship. So, good luck and all the best for that. But Kevin, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Same as EJ, everyone at Kairos, Dane and Nathan and Emil and Mark were obviously there today. Jack couldn't be there, but the guys in the 236, my friends, they were always in the YouTube chat giving support, so shout out to them, my brothers and my girlfriend as well. So plenty of people.
Good stuff. Well, Jen, it's been an absolute pleasure. I very much look forward to seeing you for future championships with Apex Racing League and the AR Apex Racing. But yeah, honestly, congratulations again, guys. It's been absolutely fantastic. Very well done indeed.
So, thanks.
Thanks so much.
And there we go. That was EJ O'Donnell and Kevin Finn for the Cars Competition car, the number 238. Championship winners in the AM category. Very, very good stuff, and an amazing series performance from those guys.
Yeah, they absolutely dominated the amateur category with, I think, 2 wins, and they were on course for another win tonight, but just went away for them. Didn't go away, though, from Manatee Racing, who have ended the season as really the team to beat. It hasn't been the championship, obviously, with that car change penalty. But Dylan Scrivens, congratulations out there. It's another race win, and a bit like Spa, it looks very comfortable. You had that one off, but besides then, you just seem to be in a world of your own out there.
Hey. I guess we're here again. Yeah, it was a bit like Spa, I guess. A bit less competition this time, but I guess that's down to the incident behind. Not much I can do about that.
Yeah, you're quite far clear, and then talk us through the off that Alexander had, because you guys haven't made a mistake. You made a mistake on the pit lane entry at Silverstone, I think I remember, but besides that, you've been faultless all season. What was that about?
It's just a lack of concentration. It happens every now and again. I mean, when you're leading by that much, it's like I'm not going to say you. I don't know how to put it. But you do sometimes lack concentration, and sometimes it just gets away from you.
Yeah, it's totally understandable. Especially when you're 40 seconds out in the lead, it's kind of tricky to keep that concentration up for the entire race. For you guys, for Manatee Racing, what are you planning on kind of tackling for next season? Are you very much a GTE team? Will you be sticking in the GTEs, or is there any cars which kind of take your fancy for 2021?
It is mostly actually a GT3 team, and there's, I guess, 5 or 6 of us that drive GT pretty competitively. So for now, I'm going to carry on helping the team with Sports Car Open, and I'll give the GT3 some more runs in Neo.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for that one. You finished in 6th place in the championship, only like 20 odd points off the championship lead, so it was really close by the end. So congratulations out there on your 3 race wins. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Just Alex for sticking with me.
Well, I think he's pretty lucky to have a quality teammate. Congratulations, Dylan. And hope to see you back on Apex Racing TV next year.
Yeah, if there's some interesting series, we might give it a go. Cheers.
Awesome. See you then. Dylan Scrivens there for Manatee Racing, finishing in first position tonight by a comfortable margin. Daniel, I think we've maybe got time for one more interview. Who would you like to talk with?
Oh, again, we're sport for choice, aren't we? To be fair, I'd like to bring in Danny Lee, if we could. Just like bringing that for the M-Signs Simmortal car. Danny, how are you doing?
Doing really, really good. That race was a lot of fun for us. So exciting, a lot of tension as well. I couldn't put my eyes away from the screen watching Dean do his stint. So we're super, super happy with how we ended up coming out of that one.
Absolutely, yeah, because we were actually saying it in the broadcast that obviously I believe it was a bit of an early pit for you. Was that in terms of strategy, trying to get out in clear air? What was the strategy behind that?
We just split the time in the car down the middle, and I also feel as if being out of sync with everyone else who pits can be a bit of an advantage, because you've got right of way, as it were, when you're on the lead, when you're on the lap and somebody's coming out of the pits. Psychologically, it's actually an advantage to already be out on track on your stint. But given that the first stint was like really up there, I placed Dean right into the firing line of people that were coming out on the second stints of their cars, and he did such a good job of just maintaining that position. He was under attack the whole way there, even by the end of his stint, starting to sort of threaten the Vulcan cars in front, who were probably just settling into a safe pace. But given a few more laps, he would have been totally on it. So that is how much he has improved since we first saw him in Apex Racing League a few seasons ago.
Good stuff. No, it's very, very good. And I suppose the main thing is, the same, the elevation, the voice as well, obviously, shows that you've really, really enjoyed this championship. Has there been another sort of, what's been the real highlight of you for this championship? Was it this race? Was it something else again with another, what's been the real highlight for you for this championship through these 4 rounds?
I'd say 100% this race, because for one, the fast repair remained unused, and that says it all. The qualifying was great. Being 4th on the grid was a massive boost, because if you can just keep it together for the first couple of laps, then you're in safety. You're not going to get punted by the people around you because they're too fast to, they know better. So having that good quali, finding that decent pace in the quali really helped us, and just having a clean race and a really good battle with Mike Visakopsika. I must have been really annoying. Was behind him for a full 20 minutes before I found the opportunity to pounce, and it felt as if his tyres were going off quicker than mine. And then the same thing for Dean. He had Mark Hutchinson behind him for so long, trying his best to get around him. But I know Dean, he's a hard racer. He's a harder racer than I am. He really makes up for the 10th or 2 that he might be behind in pace. So this race was a perfect example of what we could have had for the first 3 rounds. But such is luck. We just don't seem to get that luck in big spades.
Well, that's very true. I mean, like you said, to be fair, it sounds as well that you've come leaps and bounds, throughout every single race, earned some, taken some pretty good, I think just general knowledge going through the rest of the championship. And hopefully, obviously, I'm sure that you guys are going to be applying that to the remainder of the championship as well. Before we do go though, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to?
Shout out to msignsuk.com. This will probably be the last race with them now. We're going to switch to someone else for the next seasons coming up. That's always exciting. Gives me a chance to do a new livery. Simortal Racing Models. Got my model on order. Can't wait for that. Probably be a pretty surreal thing to see the car in physical form. And finally, to mine and Dean's respective wives, Claire and Bina. They're always a brilliant support, and they back us all the way. So thank you to everybody involved and yourselves.
No, good stuff. Honestly, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I think from myself, Sam, and we really look forward to seeing you in the future championships for Apex Racing.
Thank you very much for everything, and see you again.
Take care, Dan.
Daniel Lee then for M-Sign Immortal, finishing in a very good position. I didn't realise how close it was with the Vulcan sim racing cars, but they were literally losing like a second a lap to the cars behind. It literally came down to a second and a half in the end. It was very close, but everything was going on behind, so we couldn't really see it. I will publicly apologise to everyone who we're not going to have a chat with, but we are already over our time. We have a 2-hour slot, and I think we're already at about 2 hours 10 or so. So apologies if we're not going to have a chat, particularly Matthew Chambers, who made a joke the other day about how we always have a chat with Daniel Lee and not Matthew Chambers, and we've done it again today, but hopefully we'll remedy that perhaps next season. But Daniel, a word on this season. It was a little bit random for us to kind of put on. There was a little bit of a period between last season of Apex Racing GT and Christmas, so we decided to do this kind of short team championship. But it's provided some pretty good racing. The standard of driving has been phenomenal. It's been one of the highest quality series that we've covered on Apex Racing TV ever, and I think we've been able to see that out on circuit. The racing has been so action packed.
It has. It's been really, really close. And like we were saying in the race, it's not only between just the Amber, the Pro in separate classes. We've also had some really good races between the classes as well. So, it's been some good racing throughout the field. And I think the team format has worked really well. I think obviously there's a lot to learn from in terms of the drivers. There's probably a lot to learn. Potentially a few of those haven't really done team championships before and team events. So I'm sure that's going to be something they've really had to learn. But yeah, all in all, it's been a fantastic season. And I'm looking forward to the next one already.
Absolutely. So I think this is the last event we have for the year on Apex Racing League, which is a shame. The F3 Championship came to an end yesterday, and that was a very tight championship as well. This one was an even tighter one. But of course, if you're looking to sign up to any leagues on iRacing, Apex Racing League is the place to go, because in the new year we're going to have a lot of them. leagues. We're going to have certainly the GT League will be coming back in the GTE cars. We're going to have a Porsche Cup League as well. We might have an F3 League. May or may not happen. We're probably going to have a league for the new Dallara IR01, the new car that iRacing recently released. And a bunch of other championships as well, which I don't think I can share too much about because they may or may not happen, so I wouldn't like to speculate. But if you're looking to sign up to any of those leagues, go to apexracingleague.com. We should have sign-up links in the new year for all of those new series. Like I said, a lot of new series will be getting underway. And a good way to get up to date with that is the Apex Racing League Discord as well, which maybe we could post a link in the chat or something, so you can join that, because we will tag you in any new announcements for any new leagues. So it would certainly be a good idea to do that if you are looking to get any new racing in on iRacing. But big thanks to Daniel and Sam in the commentary booth, and also Alex Simpson as well, actually, for the race that he stood in for Sam as well. Big thanks to him. Thanks to the drivers for putting on a brilliant race. Thanks to Lee and Dane as well for the admin assistance. Thanks to you guys for tuning in and making these broadcasts worth broadcasting. We've had about 3,000 viewers for each round, which is unreal for us. For a series to have that consistently round and round is absolutely phenomenal. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully you leave this video a like and also subscribe to Apex Racing TV, because we're gonna have a lot of stuff in 2021, so certainly do all of that. But for now, from me, Sam Fitzpatrick, and from Daniel Handover, and from Sam Kume as well, AAA Esports are the overall teams champions. Cars competition are the amateur teams champions in a fantastic season finale here at Suzuka. We will see you back next year for the next season of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. See you then.